Damas y caballeros, welcome to En Mis Tiempos. I'm one of your hosts, Adriana, and I'm here with Alfredo, Adrian, and our guest, John Rivera.
Look at that.
Hello, everybody.
I got it right.
You got it right. She's
Taking me
messed
a
it
long
up
time.
every time she's done it before.
Every
so.
time.
We're going to bring out the best in her today.
So, how's everybody doing? How was your weekend? All the things.
I'm not sick this week, so that's good. It's a good start.
Oh, that's good. Oh, yeah, you were
Actually,
dying
I'm still
last
coughing,
week.
so if you hear me cough, it's fine. I'm not going to get you sick, but it's just,
Do you have that bat poison
point-
that I sent you?
At this point, I think everybody's sick. I don't know.
Yeah, man, I work at an office trailer in construction with like 30 other people or something. And there hasn't been a day in the past like month and a half where we've had a full crew because everybody just keeps going around. We just keep passing it around. So it is what it is, but I'm here today. So
And you can talk
I
without
can talk without coughing for the most part.
What about you? Didn't you say you felt like hell or something?
Yeah, I've been feeling like shit, but that's for...
That's
Have you met her husband?
That's just regular. No,
This should never be an issue.
poor guy.
A little
Poor
background.
guy.
I know. I love
uh,
Cancino. No, he's a great guy. He used to work for me. Yeah, we worked together. That's how we met. He was a teller, and then I think he became a banker for a little while, and then moved on. She made him.
Yeah.
He'd be a branch manager right now with all kinds of perks and stuff. But
Perks. Branch manager is not a perk.
No, it's not. It's the most overworked and underrated position in most banks. I did that.
Teller?
That too. Actually, tellers make better. Tellers right now, when you look at the industry, it's really changed a lot the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, what Seattle did with raising the minimum wage to $15, it really was a catalyst for so many companies on the West Coast raising their things. Bank of America was the first one that hit $20 to tellers, and Chase followed off straight. Right now, you can come to Chase, and it's about $22 an hour. God,
Really?
but
Damn.
yeah,
That's cool.
they're making $40,000 a year as a teller with benefits and stuff. So it's changed a lot. So
Banker hours.
banker's hours, yes, 9 to 5. Yeah, that's not what it was like when I started. When I started, we were there 6:30 to 6:30.
I was
think
just
I
going to
was
say, I don't remember then it being 9 to 5 for...
That changed right after
That's
COVID.
why I hated it.
That's why they changed after COVID. They lowered the hours during the COVID period, and they kept them. So the branches, a lot of the branches, Woods Bank of America, or a lot of your big threes, they were open at 7 in the morning for the drive-through, and then the lobby would open at 9, and then we were open till 6, and then Bank of America after COVID started closing their hours, and now I think they're not open till 4:30, and there are some banks that are not even open on Saturday, so we're probably one of the few
half
ones.
a day or whatever.
Yeah, half a day, and even us, we're 9 to 2 on Saturday, so it's. When I was a manager, I did so many weeks, 62 hours, because you're there 12-hour days for the first 5 days, and then if you didn't have anybody to cover on Friday, Saturday you had to be there. It was a nightmare. I did not like it. I stepped away. So it was the best thing I did. I would never recommend it being a branch manager. I mean, it's a good stepping stone to get into other areas, but it is definitely you pay your dues. And those branch managers that are there, and any kind of manager, whether in most industries, your managers are the ones that take most of the crap. They have the upper people yelling at them. Why aren't you people doing this?
The lower people that are bitching at them.
Yeah, I was a teller for like a year and a half.
Where at?
Wells Fargo.
Really?
Oh, nice. I would never work for that.
Where
was
did
in
everybody
between.
start? Didn't everybody start at Wells Fargo?
A lot of people did. I didn't. I never worked at Wells, and I can tell you right now, I wouldn't work for them. As many lawsuits and the way they cheated people, the 20,000 people that they added all those fees onto their car loans and stuff, and then the fake accounts.
Fake accounts.
They've gone through more CEOs in the last 12 years. I mean, I think they've been through like 6 in the last 10, 12, 14 years. So it's definitely not a stable company, but there's a lot of loyalty. There's people who started. Wells Fargo's been around a long time.
Yeah,
JP Morgan,
I still
250
bank
years.
with
You still bank with them?
I'm saying.
Really?
Just because I'm too lazy to go change everything.
I opened my free account.
I was just going to say, how many fake accounts or fake credit cards did they take out on your name?
No.
No.
I opened up my free account, but like they almost make you, I guess. That's the
Yeah.
thing when you start working. And then
when you work there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually did. I was a Washington Mutual customer.
Oh, well, I moved.
That one.
Oh, that's
they
right.
got bought out by Chase.
Actually, we tried to buy them January of 2008. You guys' stock price was about $2 and something change, and we offered y'all $10 a share, and you guys refused it. So we got y'all for free in June.
They didn't listen to me.
Yeah, all those poor owners of those stocks could have gotten something. They refused it. That's why it was funny because I had another colleague tell me, he goes, that bank's about to fail. Really? Why? They're big. They're the 5th largest bank. Whenever a bank is giving away everything for free to try to get, you could bring in a check from some weird nation and they would clear it. They would deposit it and make it available the same day. They were taking massive losses on fraud. But if you brought in a check from your employer, that money was available the same day. They didn't even try to clear it one day. They just said, "Oh, here, we love you."
That's
how they felt.
You're my favorite.
I was part of the conversion team. I was all excited too because at the time I was married to somebody I didn't really like it that much anymore. So I thought, I'm gonna go to California or I'm gonna go to Seattle. So I applied for, because you volunteered for the conversion team. So they were asking all, managers and senior people to say, hey, we need you to go over here and help train these people on the Chase way. I was like, okay, great. I'll go do this. So I put in my application and I got approved. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to Florida. Maybe I'll do this, I don't care. I could go to the middle of Georgia. I just wanted to get away. 30 on Broadway.
Garland, Texas.
That was Dallas, right?
That one's awesome.
I travel all the way from Raleigh to Garland every day. I tracked my miles.
30 on Broadway.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was awesome. But
and you got to see the world.
I'm my life is so fulfilled now. We could just end it today. I'm done. It was good stuff. But it's crazy. Forget about where I work. I can tell you guys so many of the craziest stories of working there. For example, at one particular bank I was working at. So I'm the sales manager, right? And we didn't have a regular branch manager at the time because she got promoted by, I can't say anything else. So I go, this is November, and I'm a big, so if that offends anybody, I hope so. I'm a big hunter and fisherman. Okay. I'm a manly kind of guy. So not even kind, I am. But so I'm gone away for the weekend. I'm over there. I'm going hunting with the other guy at work. And so he's property. And I get back from hunting on Saturday afternoon. I got all these missed calls. What the hell? What's going on? I got all these calls, global security, this and that, the other branch employees. So I finally called the first one that had come up, and I called this guy. It's like, he's one of the bankers. So I go, hey, man, what's going on? Oh, man, you missed it, man. I'm like, it was the craziest thing happened. I was like, okay, you want to tell me? They go, so apparently we closed at that time at 3:00, and that particular branch has a big safe deposit box, right? So the walk-in vault, and it was built back in the 70s, so it has the 2 private rooms, and they used to call them, like if you're Catholic, you'll understand, it's the confessionals. Mm-hmm. So you walk in there, you close the door, the light turns on, you have a little table, a couple of chairs, and you can kind of reminisce, go through your gold jewelry or your manifest for shooting up a place, whatever you got hidden in your box. And this one particular lady came in there, and she was sitting there, and she come in at 1:00, so we document the time she came in. She went in there and fell asleep. So we closed at 3:00. So she's been there 2 hours. So during the closing, there's a checklist. You're supposed to check everything because nobody checks it. So all the employees at the time are all under 25. So they're, very mature and responsible.
Right.
And they forget about her. They lock her in the branch. All right. So when she finally wakes up about 4:00, she gets up and she's like, nobody's there. And she's looking around and she picks up the phone. And if you know most of your phones from Cisco, you got to dial 9, then 1 to get out. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know that, or you're an older lady, so she can't figure out how to use the phone. So she goes around. So there's a walk-up ATM and there's a glass window there. And she walks over there and she's banging on the window. And so finally somebody walks up. So
she's not locked in the vault.
She's locked, right. No, because she's in the confessional. The vault's already locked because it's separate.
The confessionals are separate.
Right.
Okay,
the 2 rooms that you go in there with your private box and your private room.
But you can get out into the branch.
Yeah.
Why is there a bed in there?
Why is there a bed? Don't add anything to the story.
All right.
Don't assume.
You can't answer that.
No. She brought her own
I have
mala.
so many questions about this damn confessional.
Do you have pictures? So she finally gets attention of one of the patrons is walking up to the ATM to use it. So they don't know what to do. So they call 911. So the Garland PD show up. They come in there and they can't get in because, again, it is a bank that's locked down. And so they don't know what to do. So of course they call they call Chase, the corporate, and they get the Global Security. And so Global Security is trying to go down. Well, we don't have a BM because she's in a different position. So they call me, they call the other assistant branch manager, and they start calling all the way down the line. So they finally get a hold of 2 employees to come in because it takes 2 people to open the branch.
I was just gonna say they have to have the
Dual
right
control.
Yeah.
2 people. You can't open a branch by yourself. So 2 people showed up finally, and this is around 5-ish. And so they showed up and they go and they get her and they open the door and they're like, and she's so sweet and apologetic. I'm so sorry. She thinks she's in trouble. She honestly thought she was in trouble. She did something wrong.
She broke into a bank.
Right. Criminals do that all the time. So she thinks that she's about to get in trouble. That's why the cops are there and this and that. The fire department are there, and of course these bank employees show up and they're telling her, "No, it's our fault. Blah blah blah. We're so sorry." They're being apologetic. She goes, "Well, I have to tell you something. I had an accident." She couldn't find the bathroom.
Oh my
Well,
god!
usually
it just
you
gets
guys
worse.
have them in the back, right?
Well, right, but she'd been coming to this branch for years, and she never knew where the restrooms were at. So we have one public restroom up top, and then we have one downstairs. But if you don't know where they're at, there's a lot of doors in this branch.
Okay, but I'm trying every door if I got to go.
Yeah, she's a little bit older, so maybe some logistical reasons that she couldn't walk around. So the guy's telling her, "Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. It's our fault. We'll be fine." Because he's thinking he's gonna get, we're gonna get in trouble. So she's like, "No, son, you don't understand. I had an accident." He didn't remind her again. This is his story, so I'm just repeating what he said. So he says, "It's okay." She goes, "Son, I cheated." And he's like, "Huh?" She goes, "Yeah, there by the coffee stand, there was a trash can, and I tried to hit it," because she's an older lady. I mean, this lady's old. I missed.
What?
Poor thing. Poor thing, the old-fashioned Great Dane style, bam, on the side and all the carpet. And so we're like, it's our fault.
Mortified?
So we're thinking she's going to sue us for putting her through this distress, right?
And she's thinking y'all are
That
gonna
we're
sue her
for destroying property and causing this
for
drama.
shitting in the bank.
Right, cheated. And I know this lady, so it would have sounded just like that. I cheated. So, of course, the hazmat team's got to come, and it was awful because I'm hearing the story. I'm like, oh my God, because the old BM is going to be the new district manager, and she is a beast of a woman. She's got a temper.
That's not the word I thought you were gonna go with.
I'm trying to be. So and now I'm like, I'm laughing, but I'm also like, oh my God, this is gonna be a shitstorm on Monday. So I was like, well, did they call the hazmat team? So we get back to school. Get back to school, right? Get back to work on Monday. And so where the coffee thing is at, little stand where we put the coffee, because we used to get free coffee, but we make $38 million. We can't afford free coffee anymore. The carpet is older. So you got this beautiful, clean spot where she shitted. And the rest of the carpet is still ugly and dingy. Nobody wants to drink coffee now anymore. They're drinking the one in the back. And just, and it's funny. There's been so many stupid things like that. Whenever you got people who don't know what's going on, it's always some kind of stupid thing. I don't know. I have a lot of laughs.
Gotta have fun, man.
I know you have to, because if you take it seriously, you're gonna get sad.
I always thought there was like a bunch of lasers inside.
Oh, like in no, there's
Mission
a movie.
Impossible.
Yeah.
No,
I
there's
was
another
like, there's
movie.
no motion sensors or anything.
It's the old 90s movie, Martin Lawrence and a white guy.
What?
Yes.
Oh, the
Oh, what is it called? It was Martin and a white guy, and
he's trying to get into the police station to get
no,
a diamond?
not that one. It's
Okay.
older. It's way older than that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now that's gonna bug.
What's
It's
it
gonna bug
about?
me.
What's he trying? Where are the lasers?
In the bank.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know what you're
They're
talking
just-
about.
Or an art museum.
Well, I know like Casino and that, what's that? The Ocean's 11. They have like where the little Asian guy can go through all the lasers and he's acrobatic.
That's
yeah.
what y'all remember.
there's a lot of movies like that.
That one with Catherine Zeta-Jones is the only one that ever
yeah.
comes to my mind.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
That's
Yeah.
a good one.
It's her and Pierce Brosnan in it or something.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Names.
They're art thieves or something.
So let me ask you guys, what do you guys think of the current political strife that's going on? What do you guys think about it? Did y'all watch the Zelensky fiasco the other day?
That was yeah.
Was
we
that
watched
entertaining?
It was interesting.
It wasn't like I thought he was gonna pull a chancla out. Here, let me hit you. You have no respect for us.
Good TV.
Huh? You come in here like that?
My favorite was when Zelensky, what did he tell him?
We're not playing
He said
cards.
you're-
I'm not here to play cards.
No, he said
we're
your
not
voice.
playing cards. That was funny.
He
That was the
said
only funny part.
Your voice keeps going up, but your point is you're not making up your point or some. Oh, what did he say? It was good when I read it. It's your voice is getting higher, but your point is not being made. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing intelligent coming out of your mouth, even though you're.
Like the fact that we've talked about this before, but he was just being logical. And they were just saying all these things, and he was just like hitting them with logic back, and it's just like, okay.
At some point,
And
you
it
can't
was just
talk to
like, what
people
the
like
fuck?
that. You just have to stop.
Well, it was probably the most degrading public display I've ever seen of a chastising somebody of I'm bigger than you and I'm better than you, and you should bow down and kiss my ring. You know, when I first saw it, my first reaction was how embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, okay, he obviously wasn't getting if we can't all agree on one thing, you know, it was the most staged performance I've ever seen. I mean, because you had people in the audience chastising, and for a VP to address the president of a sovereign nation like that, to me, if I would have left. Yeah, I would have got up. I'm like, but where are you going to go? I mean, you know, what are you going to do? But again, his country is still obviously requiring assistance from us. That we've been assisting him for 2 years without any of these sanctions or strings or anything, and it's just like our foreign policy changed overnight. It wasn't even whether you agree with giving the money now. I know that a lot of people voted thinking, why are we helping so many? I hear that over and over again. Unfortunately, where I work, I have a lot of people who are far on the conservative and the far right side, and you see that. Do I agree with some of what they say? It does make sense. I mean, I've always felt, for example, the religious organizations that are all over the Garland area, you know, they send millions of dollars to help other countries and all that. But yet I think their mission work should start at home. I think there's plenty of people in this particular neighborhood, and whether it's Mesquite or Pleasant Grove or Oak Cliff or Garland, you know, you got plenty of areas here that mission work could be just as impactful than it is to go save a person in Ecuador, you know, or go make, Indians in the rainforest who's had a great relationship with nature and their version of God. Yet we're going to prove to them that ours is better, you know. But I think that I don't agree with all of the mission work to the rest of the world. Now, of course, during the Pentecost, we're supposed to go and spread the good news, but there's plenty of people here that need to be saved. I mean, religion itself is on the downside, on the download here, and it's decreasing. You know, the younger the children generation, they don't have any belief system, and that probably plays into their moral and ethic stance and how they see the world and how they respect the world. But there's plenty of work to be done here, but they don't talk about that, you know? And when you talk about these countries, I mean, why would we not help a country that had a massive earthquake or had a massive this or got invaded by, again, our enemy? I don't know about you guys. I'm a little bit older. I don't know if you guys, I'm 53 years old. So I was raised during Reagan. Well, what was our number one threat? You know, from 1950 to,
same one as now.
Exactly. No, regardless.
War on drugs.
War on drugs.
Yeah, that was a good one. And we're winning. We're winning.
Immigration.
That's a funny story. So
It's the same.
here I squirrel. I'm gonna jump on that one. So in the '80s, so I grew up during Star Trek and Star Wars. Star Trek reruns, 3.5 seasons, and then on Star Wars. And I love that. So I remember like in the early '80s, my mother and grandmother and all that were addicted to world news, and whoever was the talker, they thought he was God. And so when world news came on, so you used to have a 5 and a 5:30, and that was it. You didn't have this 24-hour network until other than Ted Turner changing the CNN. But you would sit there until during the 5 o'clock, they would show teasers of what's coming up in the world news tonight. And I remember hearing this, illegal aliens at the border, crisis at the border, Texas border, New Mexico. And I'm like, they're here. Aliens. Fuck, I knew they were real. I'm like, I'm like, I can't wait. So, my little ass as I was sitting there watching this boring ass news program, and I look and they start, so finally the episode, they're showing the Texas border and they're showing the illegals crossing. And I'm like, those are my cousins, Pepe, Josue. I'm like, what the? They're not aliens. And they don't refer to as aliens anymore. They don't refer to them. They're now whatever the hell they want to call us, But it's funny that at that time they were calling us aliens, and of course I'm confused because I'm a kid and I must see things as exactly as you said it. I don't believe that that's a political word. I believe that it's real aliens, and it just made me realize how they see us. Mm-hmm. This problem has been around since the 80s, but the Republicans who've been in the House for 28 years had a problem with it last year. You've had 28 years to address the problem at the border, but you chose last year. Why do we have a guy that can't get up and stand up for us? Oh, because he's in a chair. I'm sorry. I say that aloud, yes. Not an Abbott fan.
Hot Wheels?
Hot Wheels. Shit.
Oh, yeah,
you know what?
Hot
I used to be against that word. I remember when I was
What,
like,
Hot Wheels?
you can't call him that. I was like, that's so mean. Now, nope, he's fully Hot Wheels.
Oh, no, I'm pissed at the tree.
Fully.
I'm no, it means your tree got missed. I hope they got burned. I hope somebody made a piece of furniture that scratches somebody's cola every day. This is what you get. Skid marks. You don't deserve anything better. Here, let me light you on. But Paxson, the all top 3 of those guys, and then you put Ted Cruz. That is the most embarrassing. But you know what? That's Beto's fault. How do you come into the state of Texas and talk about taking your AR when every freaking person has some kind of AR relation or that? And had he not done that, we would at least had somebody a little with some decency in there. It's just, you cannot, you've got to pick. You got to have some common sense. There's no way you're going to come in here and win as a Democrat and say, I'm taking your guns away.
You think he was going to turn people?
Who?
Beto.
Turn them to...
Blue?
He got so close. Now, the governor race wasn't as close as the Senate race when he did against Ted Cruz. I mean, he was 1 or 2 points behind him.
Which one was closer, this one or Beto's?
Beto's against Ted Cruz was not. No, Alderaan was as close, but the problem with Alderaan is that number one, he's black. And again, everybody lives in West Texas and not going to vote for him, even though he was part white. He looks black, and I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to be embarrassed to say that because again, we are still voting. This country still is looking for the white supremacist leaders in this country. You had Obama, and during those 8 years, there was so much hatred just for the color of his skin. Sorry.
You broke the only
Do you
rule.
think that the hatred that is now is worse than what it was when Obama was president?
No, I think that there's just not. They don't have to hide it. I think what happened was that in 2015, because once he came out and he showed who he is, he was so. Go back to the 1500s and the 1600s. This country was supposed to be the fortress or the Protestant country that it never was. So once the Catholics came over here in the 1700s, and when you look at all of the genocide of the American Native Indian, most of that was from the Catholic community. Most of the genocide for the Native Americans, and then you look at the big convent there in the French Quarter, the Catholic came in and dominated and literally ruined the promise that this was supposed to be a white Protestant nation. And then it became a Catholic nation during that time because the Catholic had enough money, and of course they had enough money to come in, and that's why you have St. John's all over New York. Mm-hmm. Most of them are still Catholic based, and they lost their country. So when Trump was elected, that was the last white Protestant hope of taking back the country. And what they want to revert to is back to 1955. Now it's further back. I mean, he's already said he'd like to go back to 1790, but 1955, where every person knew a white male was the most dominant, the smartest, and you better listen to him. Number two, if you were black or Mexican, you're going to go, or anything other than white, you need to eat in the back of the line. You need to eat in the back of the restaurant, or white only faucets and white. And that's what they wanted to go back to. So Trump was this last thing, because when you look at the birth rate that is happening in this country, Latinos are having more babies than any other genre, more babies. And within, 14 years? What is it? How many kids you got?
Just 2.
I got 6.
I'm not helping.
He's like, I don't contribute to society.
I raised 6. You're a slacker.
You have 6?
Well, between Angela and I, we have 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
I have
wait,
4
okay.
biological daughters and 2 step. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you look at the birth rate alone, it scares. They're hearing it. We're going to be minorities in our own country. We're going to be this in our own country. We're not going to have that. So this is their last stand of getting their dominance. And what they're trying to do in this administration is provide the catalyst for the white supremacy to continue to go over for the next 20 to 30 years. This is what you're looking at. This is what the 45% Latino, if you voted for him, you're the problem. Come mierda. Come mierda. Your eggs are more expensive. Your chorizo con huevo just got more expensive because you voted for this man. He sat there a week after he got elected, and he was sat there, and they asked him point blank, what is your plan on day one? Because you've been running on this. On day one, I'm going to reverse inflation. I'm going to lower this. I'm going to lower that. I'm going to fix this. And they asked him a week after he was elected, what is your plan? He boldly told them without any hesitation, I have no control on a corporation and what they charge you. End of story.
He recently just said, he was like, how much are eggs? I don't know.
Well, hell
And I'm
no.
like, well, no shit, you don't.
Never been
It's
to
like,
a
how
grocery
much are
store.
eggs? People keep asking me about eggs. How much are eggs?
So we're going to be paying 25%. So if you wanted to buy a Bronco, you better bought it today. If you want to buy any GM product, Delphi. So the NAFTA. So go back to the late 80s.
Did you want a Bronco?
No, but Ford.
So go back to the late 80s. So during 1979 to 1985, there was a major shift in this country to start offshoring things. My mother worked for what was used to be Western Electric, and then of course the Mall Bell breakup. If you guys are not familiar with that, there was a big one company controlled all the phone systems and all the long distance and everything. So they did the Mall breakup. That's where you got Sprint that came out of. You got MCI. You got all of the long distance carriers that became cell phone carriers eventually. So they broke up the Mall Bell. So that's where AT&T, and AT&T has been in business for 140 years. And so they broke it up. And so then Western Electric became a full AT&T, and they manufactured and they did long distance and they did this and that. Well, they started shipping manufacturing to Monterrey and Matamoros. Delphi, which is owned by GM. So Delphi makes all the electrical components for every GM product out there, whether it's an Oldsmobile or it's a Chevrolet or it's a Cadillac. All your electrical, your headlights and all that are made in Matamoros. When they closed the plant here in Mesquite, one of my uncles got transferred down there and got paid a lot of money, and he got free room and board to go there to help run that plant and set it up for 2 years. So I witnessed what was going on. There was strikes every 2 or 3 years because all the electrical manufacturing was being shipped to Taiwan. Have we heard that before? TWMS, which is the leading chip manufacturer in the world, because our companies are too cheap that they didn't want to make the chips for iPhones. The number one chip manufacturer is TWMS, Taiwan Manufacturing. Okay, TWMS. So they lead the world, and they make the stuff for our F-22 Raptor. Now they have to make it in components.
That's why the Raptor went up drastically.
You're talking about the Ford. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the stealth fighter.
No, I was talking about the Ford.
But that too. So all this manufacturing went to, again, Matamoros and Monterrey. So NAFTA was absolutely necessary in the late 80s because we had tariffs. So yes, we were getting $3 an hour labor, But they were charging a tariff. So they made NAFTA, the North American Federal Trade Agreement with Canada and Mexico, to level field it and lower the tax because Mexico was charging large tariffs of sending our stuff over here, et cetera, et cetera. So that's open up the border and, the fruits, the vegetables, all the stuff that we get made it affordable. And so it helped them, it helped us. We got our avocados cheap, and they were able to have a big time supplier buying all their stuff. 2018, go forward to Trump. Trump kicks us out of NAFTA, said it was a horrible deal. Probably didn't know all about it, didn't know anything. So he kicks us out of it, and he negotiates his own deal in 2018, both with Mexico and Canada.
He just wanted to change the name.
He just wanted to, he's been trying to change Obamacare into, anything.
Trump care.
Oh, Trump love, I love you.
Trump.
And so I love you. I would take care of you. So then fast forward to about a month ago. Again, he starts his tariff things. What does he do? First thing he do is he sits there on public TV, on national TV. He's sitting there saying, whoever brokered this deal is an idiot.
He does.
And one of the reporters yells out, "It was you." But when you're a narcissist, you don't acknowledge that. No, it wasn't me. He got caught the other day saying something bad about a European nation, and the reporter said, "I've got the video." He goes, "I would have never said that." Complete denial.
That's fake news. It's fraudulent. It's AI. It wasn't me.
You guys who voted for him, that's what you get. What you got. You cannot complain. But that's
so. What do we think is the real? Like, there's a deeper meaning to what's going on, right? It's not just. It's not just egg prices.
So what happened with Zelensky is to set up so that way they have a legitimate reason to go to the public and say, now we're going to lift the sanctions on Russia because we don't want them participating in BRICS. So let me tell you something. Being in the financial world for the 18 years, BRICS is not a threat to the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is the only currency in the world that is transparent and traded on an open market that anybody can watch. The yen has lost its value, and they keep the yen devaluated because they're trying to keep their workers down and obviously for their cost in goods. We learned in 2015
that I think valuating or making the dollar the world currency also drove the manufacturing out, right?
Well,
because it was around the same time.
Well, the U.S. dollar has been dominant since the 60s. Really, yes, it took in effect in the early 70s.
Well, when it wasn't backed by gold, and it was just
they unbacked it in 1964. So in 1964, they took us off the gold currency, and now it's backed by the faith of the U.S. government. Mm-hmm. Now you got to remember something: the U.S. government is the only anything that has a AAA rating, credit rating. Nobody or any entity in the world has that rating. Because
who gives that rating?
The world agencies.
Did you just say we have good credit?
We have the best.
So we all got good credit.
We all got good credit.
We got good credit. Yes. Just go to France right now and say you're an American and say I want credit and see how fast they kick your ass out of there. Because we are hated right now in the Western world. Right now, traveling to the EU or anywhere else right now is actually a scary thing. Because of the entire world.
I'm talking Spanish. No speako English.
No speako.
Yeah, just don't pull out your passport.
No speako English.
So the U.S. dollar is not going to be replaced anytime soon. There is nothing out there that can replace it. 90% of the countries you completely rely on. When you go to any particular country, they would rather get paid in U.S. dollars than their currency because we're the one stable currency out there until that changes. Now, I will tell you, I'm not completely against all of Trump's policies. And I can't tell you that everything he does is stupid. He does have a few people that are giving him some good advice.
I was going to say, it's not him doing it. If it's not stupid, it's not his.
No, true that. Good point. I appreciate that. Yeah. So one of the things that they're thinking about is right now, so people don't realize that everybody thinks all our gold is in Fort Knox. It's not true. We have several places that we have gold, and we have gold that we don't even talk about it. that we have. So we have the largest supply of gold in the world. Everybody thinks that India does, but we do. And so any BRICS or any other foreign nation could not mine that much gold in a short amount of time to back their currency, number one. Number two, Fort Knox alone apparently hasn't been audited in over 30 years because we don't use it to back our currency. But if you took the last time that we audited, it was $40 an ounce. It is close to historic highs of $29,000 to $3,000, depending on the day of the market. If they revalue that gold at the current market price, it's almost enough to back every US dollar. So in reality, that is why you cannot replace the US dollar. It's not going to happen. BRICS is bullshit. And anybody who doesn't believe that it's not is that they're drinking the wrong Kool-Aid. Absolutely. You do not, and you don't, and what you don't understand is that we have a huge deposit in Denver, San Francisco, and even the NORAD, that place where it can handle any nuclear attack, that's in that big mountain in Colorado. Every one of those have strategic amounts of gold to survive a Holocaust or apocalyptic times. That does not even add up. There's no way that we couldn't back our US dollars. And of course, it's going to take a big investment to be able to audit that, weigh every bit of gold out, and then convert it to $3,000 an ounce. This is why, again, the US dollar will stay powerful. I can see in the next 15 to 20 years, enough countries coming together and making a world currency. Digital coin is not going to take over. I don't care how much Trump wants that.
You don't think so?
You saw it was 100,000 and it's 86,000 today. It lost $14,000 just in a few weeks, and it's only going down. It went down $7,000 today. It has that, the volatility. This is exactly why Elon Musk and Tesla 3 years ago stopped taking it as payment. Because guess what? You buy a $100,000 Tesla X or Y or whatever the crap they are. And overnight, that currency could drop $10,000. And so now you are upside down on that car. It is not going to replace.
I didn't know he wasn't.
He used to be able to, if you had.
I remember that.
Because he came out with his own coin. Remember Dogecoin?
Dogecoin? That's his?
Yes.
No, I don't think that's it.
That is his. He came out with it and he told everybody, I'm going to come out with it to show you how stupid it is. So he wanted to prove. And it went up from $50 a coin to like $450 immediately. And it's still in existence. You also have, Disney has their own coin. There are several other coins out there. You got Lithium coin, you got Dragonfly, you got a lot of different coins out there.
She had a coin.
She did not have a coin.
Yeah, she's actually in trouble.
Yeah, it was a scam. It was a scam. I think she's going to serve like 12 years for the fraud.
Scams.
The Haktua chick?
Yes, she got involved and was advertising this coin, and she was, they gave her part owner.
She pumped it up, and then she took her money
she spit all over it. So.
I cannot.
But going back to what happened to Zelensky, I promise you in the next 2 to 6 weeks, if any word comes out about BRICS or pulling the Russians out of BRICS, this deal was already brokered.
We have that recorded, so we're going to come back with, if when it happens, you heard it here first, guys. You're welcome.
Right? Oh, it's just crazy. It's crazy stuff what's going on. I don't think we've ever been involved where this much turmoil happens this fast. And
it's a lot. What do you think is the cause of it?
Chaos.
Social media?
Well,
what do you
there's
guys
got to
call
be
it?
something.
No, what do you guys have said it on here where I'm like, that's a thing.
What?
Fear baiting?
Fear mongering?
Yeah, that. Isn't it that?
Well, but that's how Trump survives. If he creates chaos, then he's the one person that's in charge. If there's no chaos, his style of dictatorship is not going to be. It's not going to be said.
Well, yeah, he said it all along.
And this is, and it's those that voted for him. They're sitting there like, oh my God, Jelly G's. I didn't think he was going to do that. Well, he said it. He's living to every promise that he did.
But that's the thing. There are still people that are like, what do you mean? What he's doing is great. Like, there's still that group of people.
Well,
which scares the shit out of me, but whatever.
One of the first 100 executive orders he did with the federal spending is he wanted to cut FDIC. Do you know that every white person in the world, the first thing they ask is that FDIC insured? And I have to sit there and educate them. I said, FDIC is just a broker company. 360 banks failed during 2008 to 2012. 360, including WAMU, which was the fifth largest bank in U.S. history and the largest bank ever to fail in the U.S. history. Every bank, you had one bank in every single county in Georgia fail because they had different rules. They had a rule that a bank had to be in every single county so that people could get to it easily. So when you think about how much failure came out of it, and then of course they had the financial reform, right, which was the Dodd-Frank Act, which we nickname in the financial world as the Walmart Act because Walmart bought that. They literally bought that shit. I don't have a problem with people boycotting Walmart because when you think about how disgusting of a company it is, they threw millions, 30, 40, $50 million in lobbying for the Dodd-Frank Act. And they bought that act. And the number one thing that came out of that, other than raising the limits of banks and stuff, which good or bad, Trump took it out back in 2018 that mid-sized banks only have to keep 7% and all the big banks have to keep 15% liquidity. But what they did is that debit card. So you mentioned free checking earlier. You said, well, that's how I got my free checking, right? So in 2000, Bank United was the first one to start the free checking wars here in Dallas. Bank United came out with a commercial. It's on YouTube. You can say they're the first one to advertise. You come in and open a free bank account. Before that, you'd have that balances or you got a fee. And when you think about a bank or even a credit union, online services, ATM, fraud prevention, all that is not free. So at that time, how these banks were able to give away free bank accounts was debit card transaction. On average, a debit card transaction is 34 cents a transaction, whether it was $1 or $100, it was 34 cents between Visa and the company who sponsored it, whether it was Chase, Bank of America, Credit Union, et cetera. They made that 34 cents. The Dodd-Frank Act changed that all credit cards and debit cards had to have one fee and one fee only, and it was 12 cents. 22 cents reduction. And think about millions of transactions that happen in Walmart daily. They instantly got $22 to $44 million a day raise. And did they offer any employee better benefits?
No.
Or did they even lower a pinch of 1 gallon of milk? No. The owner, the lady who inherited all that from her dad, sold her $250 million yacht the same year and bought a $650 million yacht. Hello. Thank you, Fraud.
Are we keeping track of who we have to boycott? Because I lost track.
Right?
I drank Coke today, so.
It's okay to drink it, just don't buy it.
No, DPR'd it.
Oh.
They probably didn't buy it either.
Our customer bought it. It was just.
That's my thing.
I was eating the torta and I was like, is it a jarritos or
a Coke is better.
Coke? So I was like,
what are you guys' opinion on this big DEI campaign that the administration is starting about, getting rid of every DEI program out there?
Well, Coke. That's the reason why people were like anti-Coke, right? Well, Pepsi is now on board with it, so I think everybody's jumping on board with
the
it.
Coke thing than that.
Agreed.
The Coke thing was the employees.
Yes.
They gave information out because they thought they were getting a
incentive.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a.
Well, they got tricked, right? They got tricked,
and they fell for it.
The workers did.
The workers. The workers went to a meeting.
Yeah.
And
then ICE was like, "Hey."
Mm-hmm.
Because they thought there was a bounty. They thought they were like, we were 1901 and there were Apaches were going to get scalped, $5 for the women and $25 for the men.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's a funny story. My great-great-grandmother married a Mexican nationalist just so she didn't get killed. Yeah. Yeah, that's
survival of the fittest, right?
Right. Give that bonocha away.
Oh,
hey, and you know what? She must have liked it. She has 16 kids.
Right. So I've over the weekend I watched a couple of documentaries. One of them was called Agents Chaos. Have y'all seen it? Mm-mm. It's on HBO. And the other one is I don't remember the name.
I don't know that name. Never heard of one like that.
But that one's actually better than the second one I watched. And it's about why, or Russia pretty much hacking, the elections and misinformation, and the reason why we're divided right now.
They're still hacking the elections?
Elections.
Trump
elections in
won,
the
and it
country.
was still hacked?
Right?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't because
Well,
he won.
I mean,
Everything was up and it was
look,
on the up and up.
Oh.
Look, this is, when I see these things, I know that it's probably leaning one way or the other, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just kind of like trying to see it from
So
far away. But so the whole thing is about how, they're hacking, and it started back in before they took Crimea. So Ukraine was like actually the puppet. They were going to try it with them first, and they were very successful, whatever. And then, they came into the U.S. and started doing that. So they have a very sophisticated program. I mean, they're just.
Is it based on Is
it's
it
just hate.
You said documentary. Is it based on true?
Yeah, there's
That's what
Oh.
a documentary is.
There's
Well,
a
that's
lot
what
of.
I'm like. Is this a movie?
No, it's not a movie. It's just
Giving you information.
It's a documentary,
Whatever.
and it goes into a lot of detail. It makes a lot of sense, but again, I'm always cautious. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna
Which side are you
fully
on?
believe it, but I'm like, okay. So all in all, Trump is, and we all know this. He's been in depth with the Russians for a long time. That's part of the reason why he doesn't his taxes. What is it?
It's unreal. It's tax.
They're
Yes.
still being audited. Whatever. 70 is, I think the number was like 60 or 70% of the people that stay at Trump hotels are Russians, so they use it as money laundering, and it's been going on for a long time. They're the ones that pretty much got him off the Taj Mahal stuff, because that's when he was really like fucked. He was just done. He was in debt. He was billions of dollars in debt, and he was just like, saw an opportunity, or the Russians saw an opportunity. This guy could be a political figure. It could be somebody who can take our money. He just hit all the marks, and then that's why we are where we are.
Shit, I
So
haven't heard of
it's-
that one.
It's really interesting. Again, I don't believe everything because I want to see something
Mm-hmm.
different, but you gotta kind of look into
when it comes to when it comes to fascism, it all starts somewhere. And there's a couple of books out, and I'm trying to remember the name. I've got them written down on my pad outside. But there's a couple of books that talk about how fascism, and one of them shows the correlation or this extreme amount of similarities between Hitler and how he took over the country, and then obviously how Trump. Now, I'm sure there's the Trump supporters would be like, you're an idiot, you're conspiracy theories, but there's so many similarities to that. For example, destabilizing our, the division. You can't conquer until you divide. DEI programs. The number one demographic, and this is what just completely like, are y'all stupid? The number one demographic, I'll ask you guys, what is the number demographic of person that, or individuals that benefited the most from DEI programs?
the companies, I guess.
So the companies have to implement that program, obviously, for being
Immigrants did.
Immigrants?
No.
What was the number one demographic? So DEI, do you understand what DEI program is about?
Yes.
Diversification, employment, and opportunity, right? So what is your opinion on who?
Probably white women.
100%.
I was just going to say,
White
because I
women.
did a report on this. I
White
don't
women
remember
were the
it,
number
but-
one demographic. Because again, in the 60s and 70s, you didn't, banks, for example, when you walked into the bank in the 60s and 70s, you had a teller, the lady counting the money, whatever. But you never had a loan officer. You never had a vice president. You didn't definitely have a president of the bank that was a female because, again, females are the devil. If it wasn't for that,
I mean,
they still think this way. If it wasn't for you, we'd be in paradise. If it wasn't for women, and given the apple. And that has been men's mentality of superiority over white women or any women.
How do we know
So what?
How do we know?
Adam's apple? How do we know that
Oh, she put a big
that
hickey on it.
Adam's apple wasn't because he bit the apple and he fucking blamed it on the female?
Again. It's because
Boom.
You're going way back.
But when you hear MAGA supporters all about I'm not going to go there because they support DEI. You're hurting your own demographic because in the 70s and 80s it was so unfair practices of hiring, and these things came about. They confused DEI with affirmative action.
I thought it was. No, we discussed this. I thought it was the same thing because affirmative action was then called
diversification.
DEI.
No, diversification of employment is not the same. Affirmative action is where you are forced to pick this person, even if they're not as qualified, to quit a quota. This one is a fair hiring practice. You pick the person for the job, whether they're women or not. And because of that, you think again, over and over again, how many companies would not hire women? This was necessary. This was always for women, and it wasn't about minorities. It wasn't about the blacks or the Mexicans, but yet most of the people who follow MAGA thinking it's all about affirmative action. Totally different programs. So affirmative action has been abolished a long time ago.
So why are we getting rid of it now?
Because they think it has to do with minorities.
So no tiene nada que ver. Meaning, so what if they abolish it?
Fuck yes.
I mean, it does, but that's not who's benefiting from it.
I mean, I guess it does,
Because
but they're still going to hire
I'm
white
When you
under
look
the
at- if
impression
you-
that the whole DEI affects like disabled, all of that.
Well,
Is
that's
it-
the ADA, and they want to cut that too. The American Disability Act. So the American Disability Act requires companies to be able to.
But DEI includes disabled people because there's
Yes.
that's,
Yes, it
that's
does.
what she's saying.
Yes.
that, yeah.
It does have part of that, but then you also have the ADA, which is the American Disability
that's
Act,
different.
that it solidifies, and it is it is a constitutional right now because of that act that you cannot discriminate because a person's in a wheelchair or et cetera, et cetera. You got to be able to accommodate. You got to have handicap parking.
ramps
You got to
and
have ramps.
access.
You got to have the right bathrooms and access for
That's
that.
why
So-
we have Hot Wheels.
He's a
I
DEI
know. Hey,
hire.
picture Greg Abbott is gonna fuck himself. Let's fire this
That's what I
fucking.
had said. That's why before I was like, I was not okay with him being called Hot Wheels, but then when he wanted to get rid of DEI, I'm like,
Fucking
get
fire
rid of yourself, bro.
Fuck you. Fuck.
Take all the ramps away.
So
Take all the things.
I would
DEI
like to take him through the forest and see if another tree will take responsibility for
So
him.
DEI now is getting rid of what?
So DEI is
It is hurting.
It's going to hurt
minorities.
but it's gonna. But okay, you will hire a male before you hire a female.
This is the story of our life, technically.
And that's what you done. You don't hold any accountability. Companies will not hold themselves accountable. They're going to hold themselves accountable to the profit and their shareholders. When you think about when you were kids or when I was a kid, when I went to most of the lakes around here, there was trash all up and down. Now there's clean. Well, why? Clean Water Act, EPA, et cetera, et cetera. We have to put this shit in place because the average person will not hold themselves accountable for not throwing that shit out the window. They will not pick up their trash. We've already seen how fucking lazy the average American is and how they will destroy our environment. And when the companies are on a different level of how bad they will destroy everything for the number of money they can make their shareholders. Without these federal programs that we have learned over time are required to keep accountability because people are not moral when it comes to the mighty dollar. Money changes you.
Oh yeah.
I don't give a shit who or what you are. If you come into money, you're going to change. Some people change for the better.
Will you still be my friend? I'm just kidding.
I guess I feel like the DEI is not really going to hurt, I don't know, white women or women in particular, just because.
It's already hurting them, dude. What was the first thing they said when that chopper went down? It was a white female pilot.
Yeah,
They
but
literally said it was
but
DEI.
also,
That
but
was the
also
reason.
they've.
Exactly.
But
They
He
blame
literally said
the
that.
Biden administration for that shit.
Yeah.
But the government or our culture has moved
Who runs the government?
for a reason has moved in a direction where it's better for 2 tax people in your household to be paying tax than 1. And that's not by
It's not by
It's
choice.
not by inflation. It's by design.
No,
Well-
I was just going to say it's not by choice. Like before, you used to choose to
that's
have
what
a
I'm saying.
one.
It's not inflation, and it's because wages don't go up, and it's an opportunity to have two people working rather than one. And they've been pushing that since
What's
the
the point you're
90s.
trying to make? I'm not sure I follow.
I just
That
don't
it's-
think it's gonna DEI is gonna hurt minorities more than.
I'm not. We're not. Well, I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah, my point is I don't
What he
know
was
how much
saying
it's
is the
gonna.
ones that benefited the most from it were white women,
Women.
but they
Yeah.
voted against their own interest. That was the point he was trying to make.
Okay, yeah.
Because they're stupid. There, I did.
Damn.
It.
Well played. That's a very good point, sir.
A sober stupid.
Wow.
Sober
Sober stupid. He didn't call me stupid
Damn.
though. He was
He
kind of.
really
Those who voted.
He kind of did. He kind of did.
Even you think about a 45-year-old white male that sat there and then voted for Trump, and while his wife is out there helping making ends meet, because it was never the design in 1950. The design was for your husband to go to work. Every house has one car and one chicken in the pot for Sunday dinner. That was the American dream. You fast forward to now, you barely can get a chicken in the pot when it has two people working, because the cost of the American, what makes our country strong and what hurts our country is that we're a capitalist society. Why this company will survive and succeed, even though we have Trump. Trump is not the first bad president. He said he's a long line of about 8 or 10 presidents that were disgusting. Trump is just the fact that he is doing so much of
He's publicly disgusting.
right, and he is doing these things. Nixon was a racist bastard. Okay, Reagan was a racist bastard. I love Reagan. I love Reagan. I thought he was our hero because he stood up to Russia and Gorbachev. You don't think that what Trump is doing now, even though he thinks he's the new Reagan, with cohorting with Russia, that is totally against what Reagan would have stand for.
Yeah, Reagan wasn't in debt to the Russians. They didn't have a P tape.
And there's a lot to be said.
Golden showers.
Golden.
Yeah, I didn't get P tape.
That is going to be the name of this episode. Golden showers.
I said P tape and nobody reacted. So
Golden showers.
All right.
I know.
I believe that after watching that documentary more now than I ever did.
I'm gonna have to see that.
I'll send it to you.
I mean, I know y'all know me, but I watched the my murders and.
I'm gonna send you
people.
that because
Send that to me because
you're gonna be like, that was wild.
Well, and I'll send you that. There's a really good book I just started to read online about the fascism and how much comparisons there are. There's another book out there that I'm going to probably start reading and hopefully I'll start reading soon, about the white male dominance and how they're trying to, at this particular point in time, again, it's the last stance, because in the next 15 years the average white American will be a minority. We're literally breeding them out, and it scares the hell out of them. And the sad part is that I have family members that live this. They're so happy to be here that they want to be white.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't understand that.
No, I don't either. I have no idea. I don't speak with an accent. I don't come off. I mean, you hear me on the phone. I've had people tell me on the phone, "Are you from Boston? Are you from this or that? Are you from Texas? You don't have a Texas accent. You don't have a Spanish accent." Well, that's on purpose, because my father grew up in such a racist time. He didn't teach me Spanish. I learned Spanish later in life because I was embarrassed because I got tired of being called a coconut. My name is John Valdez Rivera, but I didn't speak Spanish until probably my early 20s. And again, my dad made sure. My dad's Juan. Didn't put me as Juan because he didn't want me to have a hard time finding a job. Didn't teach me Spanish.
The rest of your name is Valdez Rivera. At some point, they were
Like
going to figure it
John
out.
matters, John.
And you can say he's
still
Cuban and be a senator.
True.
I'm Cuban, B.
Or what's the Secretary of
But
State?
I asked him one day, "Why didn't you teach me Spanish?" He goes, "I didn't want you to have an accent. I didn't want you to have a problem getting a job." Because he came over in 1950 when it was extremely racist. People, they used to fly. The migrant workers of the 50s, and that's why Chavez was such a integral part with the grape farmers strike. They changed everything, because at that time when my father first came over here, they weren't forced to go to school. If you worked the field, you didn't have to go to school. And then Chavez came back and said, no, our kids need to be educated. So they made them say, they compromised and said, okay, the kids have to go to school half a year, and the other half you can go back to picking cotton or grapes or whatever the hell. But at that time, there was so much racism and we were treated as vermin. Go back and ask some of your family who worked in the fields back then. They would get crop dusted with the DET and all of that and all that Agent Orange shit while they're working, because they didn't think that the value of that life mattered. There are many times that there's so many people, Hispanics, that have died from cancer or carcinogens or something because of the poisoning. They literally got sprayed like they were weeds while they worked. All of my aunts and my dads and all that stuff, like, yeah, they would burn their eyes and they would have that taste in their mouth for 3 days.
Damn.
But they didn't give a shit. The white crop dusters were like, let me spray all these damn Mexicans. Did I get them all? And it was just, that's how we were treated. We were always vermin. 1929, check this out. This country is so full of shit. And I still will never live anywhere else, okay? I'm not going to go to Nicaragua. But don't tell me I need to leave.
Nicaragua was really nice.
Is it good?
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got. But this country has gone to war more than once over slavery. So when you go back and you think about the hypocrisy of this country, so when you look at you guys ever watch the documentary that HBO did on John Adams, our third president?
No.
So John Adams, that's a really good, you guys haven't watched that. It's a really good documentary, about an 8 or 9 series long. It's not a super long one to watch, but you guys ought to go back and, if you guys have Max or something, go check it, watch the John Adams. So Hamilton, who wrote the Constitution, was obviously married to black people, but he couldn't publicly do that. He married his slaves. And because he was from France, he was very open-minded and contemporary.
Yeah, that jungle fever.
Adrian, you gotta crop that out.
What? What are you?
Okay, so
Is
going
that
back
really-
to
Adrian at En Mis Tiempos Podcast.
No,
.com.
that's not bad. That's
So
not a bad
I
thing.
didn't
What are
say
you
it
talking
was
about?
bad. Maybe somebody's gonna get offended.
yeah. So
Oh my god.
so Hamilton wrote
Adrian
the
at nbcfos.com.
All right, sorry.
so
Continue. We're gonna cut that
the
out.
original Constitution had all men were equal, and specifically about freeing slaves. They had to write that out because the southern states would not accept that. So go back and look at why. So all the northern states, New York, Pennsylvania, and all that already outlawed slavery in the late 1700s. 1772, Somerset versus Somerset was a court ruling in England. That court ruling said because England, France, Spain, most of Europe had already outlawed slavery. Most of them had already cut their conscience and realized that this was wrong. So England got sued. Somebody sued another person because the colonies, again, American was a colony of England, and all over the rest of the world. Because remember, the European, how England, had India and all these places where Europe were under English rule. They said that ruling in 1772 said that even the colonies could no longer have slavery. So before that, 1768 and all that, there was already a movement of us making our own country for a long time, because we've been here for like 200 years already, from the 1500s, 1600s, and the 1700s. So they were already tired of English rule and paying taxes and tariffs to England. And they were like, we just want to be a sovereign country. But nobody had the courage, because England was such a powerhouse. They were where we are today. Nobody stood up to them. When you look at the late 1760s, most of the northern states had already outlawed slavery. The southern states had it because, again, they used it because of all their crops, picking cotton, tobacco, etc. And that was their way of life for over 100 years. And of course, Portugal was still bringing over slaves, and it was still a slave trade. So when the northern states had proposed in the late 1760s, we need to be their own country, all of the southern states were like, hell no. And they had the money because cotton was the number one export to England and Europe because they couldn't grow cotton there, and it grew in the South. And so then they were like, why would we get rid of slaves? We need them. This is how we make our money. And they're our property. So in late 1760, 1771, they said, well, in 1772, something changed. That court ruling, where even the English colonies could no longer have slaves. That's when the southern states said, you know what, we're on board. If we can keep our slaves, and this is the deal they doctored. This is the backdoor deal that happened. They went to the northern states. If we can keep our slaves, we'll join the fight. And they had the money. So that's how the Revolutionary War came. That's the first war to protect slaves. And that's how that war came about. We would not be a sovereign nation if it wasn't for the fact that the southern colonies wanted to keep their black slaves. Now, fast forward, huh? Right. So then you think about, so that's how that happened. Hamilton wrote the Constitution to free every single slave. They told them no, and they amended it to the Constitution is now that every man is created equal except for, bam. They never got clarification on what is a man is.
The definition of a man.
Right. That didn't come until the 1860s. Now, you fast forward to Amistad, which is a movie with that black actor about the ship that's coming from Portugal, but they killed everybody.
I've heard of that movie.
It's a great movie. You got to watch it. It's a really good movie. Amistad, and two things happened that influenced President Lincoln. Amistad and Dr. Cook, and then Captain Cook. Captain Cook was a white sailor that was sailing off the Mediterranean Sea, and their ship sank. And 27 of him and his crew made it to shore. Well, as soon as they got to shore, they were taken by. They had people were going around, and they were enslaved. And for over a year, they were slaved and traded to other traders, and somehow they negotiated to get to Morocco. And Captain Cook had sent a letter to Morocco begging any white people there, please, we're from the United States. We've been kidnapped. We're being held as slaves. Pay for it. We have money in the United States to pay for you, to reimburse you. So it fell into the right hands. So when they ended up in Morocco, an American bought their freedom. So when he got back to the United States a year later, he wrote this book. So that book and the book on Amistad were the two most influential things that Abraham Lincoln read in order for him to sign and to back up the Emancipation Proclamation. At that particular time, of course, the southern states don't want to lose their slaves because they're property. They paid for them. That's their lifestyle. They've been living like that for 200 years. And, of course, we went to war then. So twice this country has been at war over black slaves. But nobody talks about that.
I've heard Abraham, signed that, whatever, did the whole deal. But not even a few days later, like he did it for a reason, political reasons, not for.
No, he did it because of those two books. If you go read his memoirs, he did it for those two books, and he specifically outlined those two books.
No, but hold on. Are you saying that because that's typically how, and this is something I've learned, where even if there's a bill, if there's a law, if there's any of that, it didn't happen right away. It takes about, and I don't remember who it was that told me, but they were like, the law, if something is new is 7 years before you actually see a change. Like you won't actually see. So my question is, are you referring to that where even though he signed it on that date, it didn't take until like 10 years later for you to actually, for a difference to be seen? Or is it just, are you saying that he signed it just for political reasons to have people vote for him or not, or whatever?
Yeah, for political reasons. And then it was actually just not, what you're saying is it takes 7 years for it to take to effect?
I've been told it takes 10. I've been told that when there's a new law
to take effect, or just to
for everyone
to
to be, no, it's not even that. It's for everybody to recognize a specific something.
So the Emancipation and Proclamation was really so ahead of his time, because again, all the northern states had been free slaves since the 1760s, 1750s. The southern states held on to their tradition because that was the deal they brokered in order for the Revolutionary War to happen. They feel like they were cheated when all of that movement came in the 1850s again about slavery is bad. And it took, like you said, it took almost 20 years. It took 2 books and a lot of people. When Abraham, that was so unpopular for him to sign that, he literally ruined his political career. Now, obviously it cost him his life in the long term, but it cost him, it would have been one of those things that he would have probably not been reelected after that, because it was not a popular thing, because he plunged his country into civil war. If you think about how brave of a person, and he, in his memoirs, he is very specific on what he refers to that encouraged him and made his moral decision, even though it was an unpopular, even in the Republican Party at that time, which he was a Republican.
Yeah.
It was an unpopular decision. Even his staff disagreed with him, and he made that moral decision to do that because of the influences of those 2 particular books that I talked about. Okay. It's when you look at Abraham Lincoln and how powerful that was for him to do that, it shaped the nation to where it is today. We can talk about all the racism and Trump and what he represents, and now racism is now more in the open than it was 10 years ago. But it's still a lot better for a Latino or a Black or anything that's not white. It's still a lot better today than it was even 30 years ago. Even when I was, from the 80s to today, it's better. Mm. The problem that we're having is that we're going backwards. When you when you saw Roe versus Wade be turned,
it broke my heart.
It was literally the match that is set in fire. Everything. This is my opinion, and I'm sure I can come up with some information to bring that up, but I don't have that with me now. But all of what's going on, this white conservative movement was a Ronald Reagan movement. Even though Ronald Reagan was so against the Russian, this movement, Ronald Reagan, when he became a famous actor in the late 40s, he was a war hero, do one for the Gippy and all that stuff, he was a war hero. He was so popular as an actor. He was also part of the conservative movement that the witch hunt for communism during the 50s, if they thought you were communist, you were put in jail. The amount of crap that came out of the 50s, Reefer Madness. They had so many movies talking about how white women would smoke a little pot, and then she would then have, what did you call it earlier? The jungle love?
The what?
What did you refer to earlier? Your jungle love reference?
Jungle.
I'm trying to get it out of him again.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. I love that selective memory. So the Wesley Snipes movie Jungle Fever. So those movies were so much propaganda against marijuana. And like the marijuana stamp act in 1955 was specifically to keep Mexicans from coming to this country, because they thought every Mexican that came here to work in the field smoked pot. And so they passed the marijuana stamp act.
Now it's a fentanyl. Now it's not. Now the new trade, or the new thing that Mexicans do is fentanyl. And
there's not a single lab that makes fentanyl in Mexico, but it all comes from China. I know. I will say something. Going back to Trump's tariffs on that, he is claiming, I don't know how true this is, but he's claiming that raising those tariffs is to slow the import of fentanyl. If that's true, then I don't got a lot of problem.
Well, then who's buying the fentanyl if we're drug dealers pay for tariffs?
Not going to pay a damn tariff.
But that doesn't...
I know. I get what you're saying. That's a good point. You're absolutely right.
That doesn't make sense.
Right. I know.
What?
I agree.
So...
Yes. No, you got a good point there. How the fuck is that tariff going to stop
Exactly.
an illegal transaction? It's like the whole thing, the whole, gun thing, I mean, the criminals are going to buy guns, so I want my gun too. How am I going to protect myself from a gun? But why are you punishing me because the criminals get the guns anyway? I get it's all caca-mierda.
It's
It's all, but so then you fast forward to 1929. So you had the Great Depression, the worst depression that we have seen, other than the Black Plagues and all of the all of those type of things, and this happens. So 1929, the stock market crashed, and the country falls into the Great Depression. Do you know why that Great Depression lasted 10 years?
I feel like
He's like, I feel like I should know this.
I don't remember.
Guesses, just guess. Any guess? Kind of has to do with what we're seeing today with the political strife that we're seeing when it comes to the border. I just threw you a big hint.
Because of the border.
The border. Okay, time out. You guys, y'all got to catch up. All right.
This is our longest political
episode.
segment.
You know what? Because but it's when you think about
No, you can keep going. Finish
it affects us every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, you see this, you're bombarded by TikTok and Facebook and people are not talking to each other because of this. We need to have dialogue.
Yeah,
I
we
shouldn't
just
be mad at
discussed
you
that.
just because you think there's jungle fever out there, Again, 1929, the Great Depression.
Guilty.
You had the biggest devaluation of money happen in one day. Banks failed and homes got foreclosed and everything. What did they do? They attacked immigrants. Which immigrants? Mexicans. They deported 1 million Hispanics during those 10 years. Over half of them were U.S. citizens. Think about this. Texas was Mexico. My mother's family will tell you the border crossed them. They never crossed the border.
Oh,
There are
shit.
families in New Mexico and Arizona and California. And I'll bring up another story to kind of go with that in just a second. You had a large deportation. What we're hearing now is another deportation. They have been blaming migrant workers for the loss of work. I can tell you right now, not one of my Hispanic kids are going to go pick a damn fruit for money or tar a roof or pour concrete. This is the thing that
Too
they're
smart.
understanding. I don't know. You don't know. All right. But you had 1 million, and think about it, that number was huge in 1929. We think about the population. I mean, the population blew up after the 50s, right? That was a massive number of deportation. No different than when we did in 1940 by getting the concentration camp for the Japanese because we were scared of them. This is exactly what happened. They deported. They have done more research in the 1929 because of all of our rules. And March 9th of 2009, the stock market crashed to 3,900 points. The bell was stopped twice. And by the end of the day, enough people said, oh my God, everything's on sale. So I went up to 7,000. Right? And it saved the market because all the rules, everything that we learned from 1929 to 1946 has now done enough things to protect us from ever having a major collapse of 1929. But what made 1929, what made that depression last 10 years was the deportation of of 1 million Hispanics, 1 million Mexicans specifically, to Mexico, which over half of them were U.S. citizen. So you had nobody to work the fields, especially Oklahoma. And that's how the Dust Bowl happened and how Oklahoma was in dire straits because you had nobody to work the fields. So all of those crops ran it, but you had nothing growing on these because all the crops are dead there. And you had nothing but thousands and thousands of acres of plowed land bare. And when the storm came, it became mud. And when it dried, it all blew the dust storms of Oklahoma, which lasted for years because there was nobody there taking care of the land. This is exactly what happened. This country, the white Protestant.
So we did that.
I didn't do it.
So they
Tell me we.
well, they did that.
We is a lot of people.
They did that and like you said,
Because
to
they
protect.
No, because if they got rid of the Mexican, there'd be more jobs for the white people, and they would get out. They would do better. But the problem is that most white people don't want to do the jobs that the
I
Mexicans do.
was just going to say that. Well, why don't they
Yeah, so
apply for
that's-
these positions?
so that's
Because
what
I
I'm
don't see
saying.
anybody applying
So-
for these positions.
So what you're
2000
saying is we learned from that time, but why are we doing it again now?
Because we didn't learn. The white Americans don't want to see that. They want to blame everybody but themselves. Fast forward to 2015. 2016, after Trump was election, in 2015, there was about $3 billion worth of crops that rots every day in the field because we don't have enough people to pick it. Now, Farm Aid has fucked that shit up. Okay, the Farm Aid of the 80s fucked that up. If you're a farmer and you apply for federal subsidy because you said my crops have ruined, you get paid. Farm Aid fuck a lot of shit. People now are okay with shit rotting in the field because they're going to get paid anyway. They're going to get reimbursed if they apply for federal aid.
Didn't know that.
And that's Farm Aid from the 80s. All those damn concerts with Bruce Springsteen and all that created Farm Aid. And now they are paid to let shit rot. So in 2015, there was an average of $3 billion of crops rotting in the field because you don't have enough people to pick it. In 2016, so many Hispanics that were here illegally went back to Mexico. I do painting on the side. I'm not recruiting anybody. I did painting on the side. Don't call me for a job. I did painting. I had several painters say, you know what, fuck this shit. I don't trust Trump. I'm leaving. They went home. As soon as Trump was out of office, they came back. Same guys call me. Hey, Juan, ¿tienes trabajo? Yeah, I got you. But they left, and guess what? That number went from 3 million in 1 year to $8 billion. $3 billion to $8 billion. I don't even know what that number is now because they don't report it because they don't want to know how much money we pay white farmers just to throw shit out there and let it rot.
Well, I feel like the companies that are making it now or like are really successful are the ones getting paid by the government.
Like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
You know how much money he's gotten from from us?
A lot.
You know how much money he's gotten
that's-
for the Green Deal Act and all that
I mean,
bullshit?
that's pretty much what made him who he is now.
But I'm not
That's
I'm
what
not a
I'm
Green Deal.
saying, like,
I'm not
all
a
the-
Green Deal. I think that was the stupidest thing Biden ever pulled. The Green Deal Act is a goddamn bullshit. You know what? There is no alternative energy
We
until
made
you find.
mistakes, but we're gonna fix them.
How are we gonna fix who?
No, I'm saying
Who,
they make
Biden?
mistakes.
They made mistakes.
Just like
Oh,
Elon
that was-
said, right? We're gonna make
so-
mistakes, but we're gonna
I
fix them.
mentioned this early. Everything that Trump does, I'm not 100% disagreeing with. There's a lot of things that he's doing that I do agree with. The Green Deal Act is one thing that we should have reversed because you cannot, until you replace oil, if you today made every person drive an electric car, we would collapse the infrastructure. It would take anywhere from 25 to 35 years just to create the grid to support that many cars drawing energy.
We don't even have the grid for our
Yeah, I mean, I don't
homes.
think. I mean, it was never gonna happen like overnight, but oil is not the most. What do you call it? The most expensive asset anymore. It's what is it? Data? No.
Well, I mean, AI is the future, right? I mean, when it
No,
comes to
it is.
economics.
It is now, and oil is like second or
okay,
third.
All right, but think about that. Every bit of the AI, everything that AI is doing, every little chip, every little program, every computer, that screen is completely petroleum. That mic that you're speaking is petroleum. Those headphones, this right here is petroleum. We are so embedded in petroleum, we're delusional to think that we're not. And so let me tell you, we grew up thinking that, and we've been sold for the last 30, 40 years, it's called fossil fuel. Dead dinosaurs. Guess what? It's a recurring mineral. They're going back to wells that we pumped in 1920 and 1930 that are full again.
That were not made by dinosaurs.
No, it's a mineral. I know. But we all were told it was fossil fuel. They made that shit up. No longer, just like the De Beers. What did I say just about 20 minutes ago? This country is going to make it because we're a capitalist society. But the worst thing about this country is we're a capitalist society. It's a double-edged sword.
I mean, I don't know if it's gonna last. I mean, it's not gonna last forever. You think it is?
I think it'll last. I don't know if it'll last 700 years, but I think it'll last at least another 150 or 200 years. Yes. And the reason is because
I mean, you know, like we've talked about this before. It's everybody goes into power in phases, and right now, it doesn't look very good.
I think
For the last 100 years, we pretty much have been in power, and very quickly, we rose to the top and have stayed on the top for a long time, and it just seems like we're diminishing and going down.
So on your point there, I will tell you this: China and Russia in the next 15 years would not be players in the world economy anymore.
China is.
No.
China has all the manufacturing.
No.
Which is
Bullshit.
when we were
No.
the richest.
No.
We weren't the richest when we had all the manufacturing.
Let me give you three reasons why. Birth rate. They have the lowest birth rate right now.
They don't need it. They're
Number two.
They're trying to stop. They have too many people. That's the thing.
Their birth rate there. They have the most declining population, both Russia and China right now.
Russia is not even a player. You got to compare the GDP, and GDP for China is right. It's right there with us.
It is a little bit fake, but the reason they have declining population is by choice. They can't handle more people.
So they have. So let me tell you about their population right now. The average population is 22 males to 1 female.
Jesus.
They don't have anybody to fuck.
They'll make it work. That one how many people do they have?
What do you think we did?
They have the largest population.
How many females is that?
So they do not. Their birth rate is almost like half of what it was 20 years ago. Do you know how many children they have killed over the last 30 years? Because they want boys.
Why?
Because you can't carry a name without a boy.
Who gives a shit about a name?
Oh my God! You're talking about an antiquated mentality. You're talking about an Asian mentality that is completely. Okay,
they need to evolve. They need to get over it.
They are evolving. They're going to go. So, all right. Let's talk about numbers. Let's talk about numbers. We can talk about our emotional issues, but let's talk about numbers.
Our emotional issues.
All aluminum manufacturing have left China. 90% of tire manufacturing have left China. Most textile have left China. COVID fucked them. That was the worst thing to happen. You buy any aluminum door, you buy any aluminum product, it'll say made in India. India is the fastest. 2 countries that are fastest growing right now is India is the hottest. The average investment in India is averaging 26% return right now. The numbers don't lie. Guys, you guys are not seeing what's really happening.
I know that the world order is changing.
It's going to change much faster than you realize.
China, I know that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean.
Where the U.S. is in charge.
The U.S. will stay in charge for a long time because why? Because we're the biggest consumer in the world. Okay, as long as again, what did I say just a few minutes ago? And again, I'll say it again.
But if we isolate ourselves,
we are a capitalist society, and that is our downfall and is our strength. For example, 1985.
You can only keep going in the direction that we're going so far before.
I'll tell you what.
Hold on, let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before people run out of money to spend. The reason we're the number one consumer is because we had money. People can't buy eggs right now. At some point, we're going to get to the point where the top 1% of 1% have all the fucking money and we can't buy shit. What are we going to consume?
So go to 1900. Go back to 1900s. Carnegie, the Rockefellers were the richest, and J.P. Morgan. Mr. J.P. Morgan was the richest people in the world. Mm-hmm. It's always been like that. It's not going to stop.
No.
Yes.
No, there was a transition.
No, you had the disparity.
There's always been a disparity.
There was a time when the guy that went to work at the manufacturing job was a fucking rock star.
That worked 7 days a week without any protection from the federal government that we have now.
He was fucking
but he had a
bank.
house, a car, and 2.1 kids and a dog, and he could feed them all. And they had a chicken in the pot on Sunday night.
That's the dream, but that's not the reality.
So you mean to tell me that generations from the 50s weren't able to purchase more than today's generation is? So okay,
really?
We buy more now.
We have
more credit card debt today than we had in 1950.
But we have no buying power.
We're still considered the most largest consumer.
Yeah, we can call ourselves whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, the actual people have no money to buy shit.
You say that? Okay, I'm going to give you another numbers. Follow the numbers. Which pharmaceutical company stock has gone up 75%?
No clue.
Pfizer.
No.
Oh, okay.
And in the last 18 months, 75%.
It was a guess.
75%.
Why did their stock go up 75%?
Okay, which company is it though?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Why did their stock go up?
Because we buy shit. Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly is the richest pharmaceutical company in the world right now.
But what does that have to do with what we're talking
Because let me explain. Because every fucking fat woman in America or fat man in America is buying $300 to $400 a month out of their pocket for those peptides.
What peptides?
Yeah,
To
but
lose
that's
weight.
not gonna.
That's not gonna sustain the U.S.
You
economy.
don't understand. No, you don't see what's going on.
I'm living in what's going on.
The
What do you
money
mean?
is the money is there. People are
Where?
still spending money like nobody's business.
You're saying that it's a matter of people. It's ¿cómo se dice? It's shit.
Can we just keep it simple? You like talking about numbers. What is the ratio from average salary to home prices right now versus what it was in the 50s?
Oh, that's a different story.
No, that's
Priorities.
the story.
No, that's a different story. That's a totally different thing.
What is the ratio?
Buying shit from Amazon and all that.
That's
and
what
Temu.
I'm saying.
So that is the highest percentage that we've ever had. The shit buying.
But
is
you know
the
why
highest.
people are buying that? Because I can't buy a fucking house, so I might as well spend that on something.
Okay, well, first of all, we were never intended for all of us to own homes. Number one.
That's yes. We,
No. I'm serious. Think about
I'm
it.
not arguing.
You know
with
who changed that? Clinton.
Hold on. You're changing the subject.
So you're talking about homes. So let's go
No,
down.
we're talking about the U.S. failing as an empire.
The U.S. will not fail as an empire anytime soon
Why?
because of the greed, capitalism.
Right.
Think about this. In the late 1980s, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were the richest men in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And now just 20 something years later, you got Jeff Bezos to say, let me show you what real rich is now.
Yeah,
you
that's
got
not true.
amount-
Bill Gates and Bezos are still there. Or whoever you said, they're still there.
Their
They didn't go
wealth
anywhere.
their wealth is not compared to the top 400 billionaires completely overshadow Bill Gates and Steve Jobs.
What?
The white Bezos paid
Wait. What did you just say?
Wait,
the
what?
wealth of today. The top 400 richest people in America
Yes.
completely overshadow the wealth of Steve Jobs or Bill Gates.
Call bullshit on that, but whatever.
No, I'm serious.
Hold on.
The
I
numbers are
thought
there.
they were up there.
They are.
No, not at. What we're looking at is people are now. We're going to start having trillionaires in this United States. We're about to hit the first trillionaires, not billionaires.
Yeah, billionaire is what it used to be a millionaire now.
And
yeah,
now-
everybody's doing
But
it,
that's
right?
And
but
the
that
next-
goes into
But
everything.
that doesn't
though.
help the country. How does that help the
No,
country?
we're talking about how wealth is being made. This is still
yeah, the
okay.
top 1%,
Well, okay, all right. Let me
0.1%
elaborate.
is still getting
What I'm trying to
rich.
say is that
That's-
who is Jeff Bezos? Nobody. He didn't create anything. He didn't do
Bezos
anything.
is the Amazon,
He's
right?
actually the
Right.
only one that did create something.
He created. I'm selling your shit, and I'm going to profit
Yeah,
off
he
of it.
created that. Whatever.
That's
But it's-
always been there. Sears Roebuck was like that. You know, you went to Sears and they sold your gun. You know, your John Williams rifle or whatever. That's what Sears Roebuck. It's always been there.
Bill Gates is number 13 in the world for 108 billion. Like that hasn't changed. I don't know where you're going with that.
There are more people. We're going to have more people in the next 5 years be hit trillionaires than we
Right.
ever
So how
had.
does that work if you're redistributing the wealth like that?
Okay,
how does that work? to keep-
redistributing is a different story.
But that's what happens when you're creating that
this
many
is the,
trillionaires.
This is the only country that people can start something and become a billionaire.
What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
My mindset has always been, or my understanding of how everyone, and maybe this sounds really stupid, but for everyone to kind of be happy was if the middle class was strong. You have your millionaires that are happy, and the ones that are a little less, they're happy. But if you have a strong middle class, that is your happy sweet spot.
That's the sweet spot.
So-
Yeah,
so-
the
so-
sweet spot.
I mean, the wealth cap is
let's look at
the
the last
largest it's ever
120.
been, right?
The what?
The wealth cap, it's larger now than it has ever
Well,
been.
middle class is now considered what?
Well,
so-
there's no middle class.
There is no middle class.
So the middle class is shrinking in your sense, to your point, because the numbers are big. Since 2017,
But numbers
the
don't
average
lie, right?
No, numbers don't lie. Since 2017, the average home in the Texas area, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, has gone up 80%. That right there is what he's referring to.
I'm not. Forget about homes. Homes are something else.
Well, you said that was the main thing.
I never said it was the main thing. It's a
You
thing.
just
I said it's a thing.
you just said that was the main thing.
When did I say that?
Just like 5 minutes ago.
No, I asked you, what is the difference? What is the ratio between average salary and the home price? What is the ratio? You don't let me finish as a problem. Between average salary and the price of milk, average salary and the price of clothing, average salary and the price of everything. It's shrinking because the price of everything's going up and people are making less money. That's not sustainable.
So do you know how many times this has happened?
It started happening probably in the mid-'70s and it hasn't stopped.
So no. In the 1980s, you had the worst inflation that we ever had. When you had interest rates, when you buy homes at 12% and you buy cars at 17%, and you had CDs paying you 12%.
Have prices gone down since the mid-'80s?
No, but the
Has
interest
salaries gone up since the mid-'80s?
Yes.
not in correlation
Okay,
to what
well,
you're
then
talking about.
Where are you going with this?
No, where are you going with this?
What do you mean? I
I'm-
just told you where I'm going with this.
No, you're okay. First, you said about the houses. Houses up into 2017.
Forget about the houses. Forget about the houses. Forget I said anything about houses.
Okay, so
Just everyday consumables. The price of consumables is going up. Salaries are going down or staying stagnant. That's not sustainable.
when you sit there and you're saying that we've had salary increases at the fastest amount in the last 5 years than we've had in the last 25 years.
But are they keeping up with inflation?
Inflation's a whole different thing.
Are they keeping up with the price of things?
No, if I get a $20,000 raise, it doesn't matter if everything else went up 40%.
I'm barely keeping up. Essentially, is what that is. Like, even if you get a $20,000 raise, you're still not. You're
If everything
still
goes
catching,
up, if everything goes up 40%, and I get a
You're still catching up, or you're playing
20% raise,
catch up.
it doesn't matter.
So, but comparative to what? Gas is at $2.50 a gallon right now,
Compared to
right?
life,
just everything.
life is
but-
expensive.
Everyday consumables.
Every
I said.
day, as your Joe Schmo,
So-
me, that's
But
not a millionaire.
that was so 1979 or 1978 or 1977. You had gas first time hit $2.50 a gallon.
Yeah, but-
So that's already happened over and over again. You had the oil embargo during.
You're talking about
But-
very specific. Gas prices went way down after that.
Okay, how much was gas prices in 2003?
When I'm telling you, when I was starting to drive a teenager, gas prices were 89, 90 cents a gallon.
Right.
And
so
that was
they
extreme.
do go
You
down.
threw
So
out an example from the 70s where it was a one-time thing for a
it was
specific
3
reason.
years. It
For a
was 3 year
specific
period.
reason, and then it went down.
And then
back
it went
to
down.
where market value was.
So 2003.
But since then, they've been going up and they haven't stopped.
So in 2003 to 2005,
There was
diesel
a
and
fucking
gas
huge gas price. It went up
to $4.
and then it came back down.
Exactly.
And then they've been
And-
increasing since then,
and
and
where-
they haven't gone down.
And where are we at now?
A
250.
lot higher than they were there then.
They're 250. They're not $4.
So when are they going back down?
That's what we.
I don't know that. It's a commodity being sold. This is being so everything that you're talking about
When are
is
the huevos going to be back down? Or when is the
well. First of all, when there's no floor, when we stop cutting funding to federal governments that talk to each other about bird flu and stuff like that, we have got to stop that cutting the funding for all of that. When you got a federal government cutting 10% of NOAA that's trying to protect us from hurricanes, this is going back to what we talked about earlier about Trump. But the cost of living here in Texas has caught up to the rest of the nation. Prices in California, New York, Florida, and Arizona have always been about higher than Texas. Texas was that sweet spot. And we finally caught up with, or because of the influx of people moving
I was just
here.
going to say,
Yeah,
or
but-
because of the damn Californians, no offense, but fuck. Because of everybody from California coming over here
Yes.
and willing to spend
Yeah,
a
but my
stupid amount of money on.
my
But
wage
that's
is
a
still
double.
the same.
That's a for you. And I do.
What did you say? Wait, what
I
did
don't know
you
about
say?
you. My
I said
salary
my-
keeps
oh,
going
my
up.
salary
My
is-
salary keeps going
no,
up.
I mean it's going up, but it's not keeping up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Keeping
saying.
up and going up is, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
2 more
maybe that's
minutes
my
and
fault.
we're
Maybe that's
done
my
with
fault.
politics.
But
We're
you-
done with
It's
politics.
not.
but you understand that this has happened. This same scenario has happened.
I'm not talking. You keep talking about specific. I'm not talking about the past 5 years or the past 10 years or the past 5 months. I'm talking about since the mid 70s.
I wasn't
The
alive
price of
then.
everything has been increasing, and wages have not been keeping up. And the wage disparity is growing, and there's no longer a sustainable middle class.
For those-
all those things, if they continue to happen the way they are, it's
I-
not sustainable.
I would challenge you on that then.
On which one?
Why is the wage not
Like-
going up for the person?
No, not the person. I'm talking about as a country. I'm talking about the average.
The average. But why?
because of the fucking 1%, because of the greedy rich people, and because it's a capitalist society.
Which is a
That's
double-edged
what's
sword.
going to make us fail. But you
Because-
keep saying that's what's going to make us succeed.
No.
Capitalism is never going to reverse itself.
What is going to make us succeed is
That's what you said 20 minutes ago.
No, I said that is our downfall and our
also
detriment.
Yeah.
And
Because
our savior. You said it's also our
as
savior.
long as you can come in this country and you can work your ass off and start your own business and be an entrepreneur, and for example,
I mean-
you can go start a trucking company right now, get 3 trucks, and average $15,000 of income a month.
You can go into debt to do that right now. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, what if I don't want to do
anything.
that?
But I'm using that as an example.
That's been the American dream. That's what
It's
they
to be
sell.
an entrepreneur.
It's always been, get your
Do-
bootstraps,
so-
whatever.
so
go to work really hard,
bootstraps.
So what I-
whatever.
right.
And
So what
you
I
know,
do for a
that's
living
it.
is that I
That's-
invest people's money. Do you know how many people I meet that they have an I-10 and they're sitting on $900,000 cash? So let's talk about the hypocrisy of what's really going on. We here think that we're entitled, that we go to work for 40 hours a week, we're going to make it. If you don't sit there and think outside the box, and if you don't sit there, okay, I like myself.
I mean, I'm
We're
here
not-
for
we're
I'm
not-
here
we're
for
not
free.
saying
Hold
that.
on, hold on.
but
I
so
have
many
to counter
people,
that.
so many people think that if I go and I trade my 40 hours, that is going to provide the American dream,
The minimum.
No, but that's
and
what
it's
we're
the bare minimum.
that's what we're
It
taught
shouldn't be the bare
No,
minimum.
I'm not taught that
by who?
by my parents. Always
Exactly,
think
yeah.
ahead. Always. You know how many
Well,
businesses
that's
I've
your
owned?
parents, so. But what does the school tell you? They
The
want
school
you.
tells
they
you
want,
to
they-
go to work.
Be a slave.
Well,
All
they
the
want- yeah,
college
they want-
education is designed.
they
all
want
the
you-
college-
you're conflating two things that are not related. The fact that people are lazy and they don't want to work hard to better themselves, that's a fact. It's always been a fact. It's never going to change. That there are some people, some outliers like yourself, whose parents taught them well, and they do go above and beyond to get themselves out of the position that they were born into. That's a separate thing. I'm talking about the average American person who is lazy and who is brought up in our educational system, and they're taught that if you go to college and you go into debt to go to college, you get out, you get a good job, and you fucking work hard, you will have the American dream. That's what everybody's taught.
And
what I'm saying
and that's
is,
bullshit.
And what I'm saying
Right.
is that's bullshit.
Oh, it's
And-
absolutely.
But that's
I-
what
I
it
would
is.
I would never. To me, I would never sit there and okay. So background, I have a GED, but I'm vice
Good for
president of JP Morgan. I make over $300,000 a year.
I don't believe you need a just to put that out there. I don't think, and I don't think anybody here thinks you don't need a degree to make a good living.
And that's why I was bringing up Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is not a PhD. He doesn't have mountains of debt starting a business. The man
But
who
that
started
has nothing
FedEx.
to do with what the conversation you two started, though.
Well, but I guess no. So
Be honest, I don't
going back to like what you said, what keeps us the two things that keep this country strong.
What was my question?
The number
what
one,
Adrian said.
my number one. If you ask me this on a blind thing, you
On
say,
a
hey,
blind date.
not that. But if you ask me the two things why this society will continue to prosper, number one, we have the best written literature, best written document that the world has ever seen. It's
Well.
called our Constitution.
It ain't worth shit right now, but whatever.
I still believe in it, and it's
I do
going to
too.
protect us even from Trump. Our Constitution. If you
Fingers
look at the
crossed.
We
first
hope.
seven, if you look at the first seven that gives the rights. So if anybody,
Not just
and
Trump,
this
just
is, This is
anybody.
funny.
I don't-
This
you
is
know,
so
whatever.
funny. Everybody talks about the Constitution, but nobody has ever read it. Most of us have never. The first seven gives the federal rights. The first 10 give all the rights to the state.
That's what.
And so when you look at the Constitution, it has been under attack over 250 years. Since the day they was indoctrinated, it has been attacked. It has had more lawsuits and more Supreme Court rulings against or with the Constitution, and not one time have they been able to change it. And as long as that
Hell, they've
Constitution,
changed it 27 times.
no, they've
They have?
added amendments.
That's change.
It's amended. Amended is different.
But the top 17 have
Amended
not
is
been
different.
changed. The 7 that gives the federal laws and the 10 that gives the state laws will not. When those are fundamentally changed, we have a problem.
I don't disagree.
Okay, so that other than the Bible, I think that is the best literature that's ever been written. Number 2, capitalist society. As long as we're able to, as long as anybody can come to this country and become a millionaire from hard work, that's what makes this country great.
You just said that's not from hard work. Like, What do you
mean,
define
When
hard work?
you get a guy that
I feel
comes
like,
over here and
I
starts
feel
pouring
like
concrete,
you can go to any country and become that.
then why do they go there? Why do they
I
come
don't
here?
think that's
Because-
true.
No,
Well,
it's not. There's no other country.
It's sold like that here, and this is the information that we have.
Again, I'm only saying from my point of view. You may have a different point of view, and I will listen to your point of view.
Like I said
But
earlier,
do you
I
know
always,
how many
I always back
people-
up and look at it like,
how many
we can't be the only
How
ones.
many people I meet from Africa, Nicaragua, Salvadoran, or any other country that've been here for 10 or 20 years and their homes are paid for. They've got money in the bank. They're looking to me to help their retirement and investments. And I hear their story.
Yeah,
That is still the
maybe not any
American
country,
dream.
but-
Is still, I don't, people die to come to this country. People are dying.
That's true. I'll give you
No,
that.
I will 100% disagree with anything else that there's, because if that country was true, people would be flooding there and we wouldn't have an immigration issue. They would be flooding the streets to get into. Nobody other than France.
The only immigration issue we have is what Mexico, right, or South America.
I was just
No,
gonna say
you have
Hispanic.
a huge problem in Canada. They just don't talk about it. There's a
they're
ton of
white.
Chinese coming
Because
over.
they're white. They don't
Yeah.
look like. I can't even say
You have a
'cause
ton
I'm
of Asians
pale.
coming through the Canadian border. You have a ton of Indians coming over to the border. People don't realize.
I don't know.
You go back to
I
2015. You go back to 2016. What was the one thing that Trump changed right away, other than his he wants to put the wall on the border and Mexicans are all drug dealers and sex rapists. The one thing that he changed is that at that particular time there was 1 million people who were allowed to cross the border to be migrant workers, just workers. He more lowered that to 500,000. Now, he did that because the other 500,000 was allocated for H-1B visas. These are people that are sponsored by companies. So these are like people who are programmers or people who are specialized in their field. These companies, GM, Raytheon, Texas Instruments, et cetera, are willing to pay for it to bring them here and sponsor them for 2 years. The largest community of Indians and South Asians are here, like in Plano and Allen and Frisco, because of the H-1B visa program.
Is that why they say they're taking our jobs? Is that what he's referring to?
What?
Those jobs, the ones that they're.
No, they can't pick cotton and they can't do that either.
Because that is not sexy. That's not impressive. A person picking a piece of fruit, he still, again, they will fly a plane and crop dust him. The person who fix your roof, they don't give a shit about because he's a man of color. But if he's able to fix your computer program, if he's able to fix your system, that's a valuable person. That's where we're jaded with this value system. We do not appreciate the hard workers that are willing to come over here and clean our commodes and do the hospitality jobs and do all of these shitty jobs that our kids don't want. We are completely throwing that out and this lowering the value of what that brings. Every society, when you take a Mesopotamian, you take the Egyptians, you think of all that, have always been successful on a slave labor. Without the immigration, without these people coming over here willing to do these shitty jobs that you and I don't want, we're collapsing this society. That is going to be our detriment in the next 2 to 5 years. It happened. That's why I was talking about the farms were $3 billion of crops from 2015. And in 1 year, it raised to $8 billion of crops rotting in the field. Nobody to pick them. We have to have migrant workers or a slave labor to do the work that we don't want to do.
Don't like those words. I said I don't like those words.
Oh, no, it's a harsh word,
It is.
but it's reality.
2 seconds and then we're moving on from politics.
I love it.
To what?
Cowboys.
Oh, God.
Let's talk about politics.
Let's talk about the Mavericks and the fucking stupid thing about letting Luka go.
We talked about that too.
Did we talk about that last week?
And the week before that. And the week before that.
Are you guys still sad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was the
when
main question. Were you guys still
He
sad?
beat us, and then he's just dropping 40.
I'm sorry.
9 wins in a row.
I'm sorry, but
Number 2 in
so
the
someone
Western
brought
Conference.
this. Someone brought this up to me, and I don't know if it was the point was for it to be discussed on here. I think that's what he may have said. Anyways, he said that is is there a like conspiracy theory behind the whole Luka thing?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Oh, so y'all were already on this conspiracy theory?
You're talking about the casino one?
No.
They're moving the team to Vegas?
Oh yeah.
No, I haven't heard that one.
Which one? What was
No, the
other
one that I heard was that maybe Luka was in debt of some sort, and that's why they had to do the trade, or that it was that his trade algo que ver with Nico, and Nico's something to do with
No, I honestly
the Lakers.
think he didn't know how much he meant to the city because he's
So
an
Nico
outsider.
said, yeah.
because Nico was from the Lakers. No,
No, he was from. He put together Steph Curry's team,
For Golden State?
the Warriors. Yeah, he put together that first championship team, I think, or
Yeah, wait,
Whatever.
I don't talk about that anymore.
Anyways.
What are you
no,
talking about?
okay.
Yeah,
it's just
All
sad.
Well, whatever.
It sucks.
he's gone. Fuck him. I'm just kidding.
They are still sad. Great.
That's all you had? That was lame.
Really, you had the topic that we've talked about for the last 3 weeks.
No, I didn't have that topic. I had another one
What is it?
about the. You know that my world revolves around criminals and docuseries, right?
Mm-hmm.
That Ruby Frank docuseries that came out.
Who's that?
Haven't seen it.
Se llama Ruby Frank, right? Frank?
What's it about?
She's the one from Utah that her and her husband, 8 kids. She went to jail she got sentenced to 30 plus years.
Did you
for
say number 8 kids or 8?
8 kids? Or were they 8?
They chow down
6 kids. They had 6 kids. So this mom had 6 kids. She's in jail for over 30 years for like the cult. Like, y'all haven't seen it? What?
No, what?
No.
You don't know shit.
What do you want to talk about that?
Ruby. To see what y'all felt about it, but never mind. Stupid.
You gotta come with something that like everybody's will have heard about.
Okay, Casey Anthony.
I know who she is, but I'm not keeping up with.
Okay,
That was
she's
like 10 years ago.
I know.
no, she's out and about because she's trying to give legal advice. Not kidding when I say that.
American
You
Dream,
don't know
right?
who Casey Anthony is either?
Yes, I
Yeah,
do.
but it's-
She
My
has an
my
office
head
on
is
it.
so far up the investment world. You want to talk about?
Okay, what's gonna happen to the stock market? I'm just kidding.
No,
I have money
Oh, I
and I'm
can't tell you
waiting.
that.
I'm just kidding.
I have money and I'm waiting.
no. But seriously, wait it out. It's
No,
gonna bounce
that's what I'm doing.
I mean, you saw
That's
in
what I'm
NVIDIA fall back in August. The largest drop of any stock had ever hit in late August, and you had almost 2,500 points lost in Nasdaq in the market in about 3 days, and with a week later, you saw some of the biggest gains. What's happening right now is cyclical. This is not something that you should panic on or change anything.
No, it's buying opportunity, but
It's absolutely
Just gotta
anytime there's
wait.
fear in the market. 2009, when the market crashed, Warren Buffett put $5.5 million of his own money in the portfolio in an all stock portfolio. That portfolio in 2020 was worth $150 million. If when you invest, it's about time in the market. And I can tell you guys, if you guys 401ks right now or in target date, stop. Get out of target date. If you have target date 45 or target 35 or something like that, please get out of it. Go whatever your elections are. Please pick. If you're a Vanguard, pick VEO large cap. Large cap will average between 15 to 17.5% over a 15-year period. That's how you have sustainable growth in order for your 401k to look good. But if you're in a target date, if you didn't make 20% last year, you're in the wrong portfolio. I can tell you right now. And get out of bonds. Bonds are good right now, but the bonds are, unless you're
They're not making any. They don't make any money
so bonds
right now,
have
right?
lost for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
For the last since 2020, bonds have lost, but bonds are in favor right now. You've got municipal bonds making 10%, so you're making a 3.7 yield or their income, and then the capital appreciation went up 7% last year. That's kind of slowing down. Bonds are making up anywhere from 2 to 5%, depending on what kind of bond. And I don't recommend any type of high yield or junk bonds. There's no reason to take that kind of risk. Getting into the equity market is the only place to be. There's record profits in the market. There's companies. I mean, again, we just kind of hit on it earlier when we talked about the politics. But the record profits of both financials, pharmaceuticals, every single pharmaceuticals are making crazy profits. Again, because of the peptides, the weight loss, you name it, high blood pressure, diabetes, they're all on the rise. And you're starting to see some of that come down because people are losing large amounts of weight because of these peptides. But what's happening with these peptides is that...
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
It's
because
going
of
down?
the weight. Yeah, because of the weight
because
loss.
if you lost 100 pounds, you think you can have the same diabetes problems?
Right.
Do you think your high blood pressure is the same if you lost 100 pounds?
So it's working, and then they're like, wait a second.
But it hurts
It's
every
working
other.
too,
Yeah.
it's working too much.
It's a what did you call it? A double
It's-
sword?
it's
A
It's a
working
double-
too
double-edged
good.
sword. So, but then you're paying $300 to $400 out of pocket because your company your insurance doesn't want to pay for it. So people are paying for this. You know, I hear over and over again about it's so expensive, but people are still buying.
I think that's a more of, well, I say this, maybe it's a priorities thing where it's
Yeah, I
like
mean,
they're
if-
willing to prioritize certain
I don't
things
know.
over others. You know what I mean? Where I think that's,
Do you think that's more of the me attitude that's we're seeing right now? It's all about me. I'm only gonna live once. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
I don't know.
entitled.
A lot of that.
I'm entitled to this.
I don't know about the entitlement aspect, but it's one of those, and somebody else had, I'm taking somebody else's words, but where they had said, you know,
right.
unfortunate job, where it's like you have your person that is willing to drop 15 grand on a mommy makeover, but is not willing to invest that money. You know what I mean? Where it's like their priorities are kind of divide. They're one way over another, where they're willing to spend. Can I put all my pennies together and put $1,000 or whatever it costs to do those peptides? Or can I invest that money and put it somewhere else that's going to make me money? Does that make sense? It's priorities where it's like what?
So last year we had the highest number of millionaires, 401k millionaires ever retire, the largest number. And I think it's such a mixed message. You know, he touched on how people are not making it, but yet there are more people who have money today than ever before. Unfortunately, $1 million doesn't solidify anything. $1 million at a 7% return, that's only $70,000 a year.
So is it safe to say that it's a matter of someone's priorities where they can be making $100,000 a year, but they're choosing to spend it not correctly? That's what makes it
Responsibly?
Sure.
Absolutely. And that's why I asked you that question. Is it about me? And we have this me movement happening right now.
Literally, me too. Movement. Movement.
Between the sense of entitlement that you've got the younger generation that, you know, just feel like this next housing boom that we're about to go into is probably going to be the last housing boom we're going to see in a very long time because they're not going to be able to afford houses. We put ourselves in a position that we're not going to be able to afford houses. In 1980, the average married couple would go to and live with their parents for a year or two to save the 20% down to be able to buy a house because you had to have 20%. You had to have some skin in the game. Then you fast forward to the Bill Clinton administration, which then Bill Clinton did a lot of great things, but some of the things when you look at it, were they really the right thing? Bill Clinton came out with FHA, Fannie Mae, Sallie Mae, you know, all of Freddie Mac, all of those things came out. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of people made more money during the Bill Clinton administration than any other president over the last 40 years because of the thing. I think he was influenced by a banker. I want to sell more houses, come up with this program. I honestly, I mean, I can't say that. There's no proof of that. But it's just like, as a conspiracy, you think he must have been influenced by a top banker. I need to sell more houses, make it easier for people.
Money.
Yeah, make it easier to get houses. So 1950, we talked about every home has a home, one car, and a pot and every chicken. Well, Bill Clinton's thing is everybody should have the American dream. And that's how he pushed through Congress, FHA, Freddie Mac. Fast forward to the now, then you had the 2008 financial crisis, which 1 out of 4 homes foreclosed on. So they created that problem. Now, I think that was also Jefferson Bank. Jefferson Bank was the first bank to ever take mortgages and put it as a security and sell it. That's why people's mortgages get sold from Bank of America to Wells Fargo to Carrington, et cetera, because it's a security. I think that's wrong for people to play with houses like that, but it is what it is. People in the stock market and in Vegas and the stock market are a lot alike. They will find any opportunity to make money. They don't care who they hurt. But that opportunity is there. You can do options trading. You can sell puts. You can sell calls. You can do all these things to generate income. You can take $10,000 of stock and create income by selling puts on it. And I know that I'm getting really deep there, and it's a little bit, it takes a lot to explain how that works. But you can do all of these crazy bets against securities and non-securities and all of that trading. And that's what happened with the mortgages. First of all, they got upside down because the value went down, and bam, you're seeing now an immense increase in the value of the home.
Right now, it's what, a buyer's market?
It's a seller's market.
Seller's market. Sorry.
It's starting to become a buyer's market.
Changing.
Florida's having a big housing crisis right now. The average home is down between 10 to 30%, depending on what market you're in, because they can't sell the homes because those prices went up too fast. We will experience the same thing in the next 2 to 5 years. We're going to see a housing bubble here in the North Texas area because, again, as I mentioned earlier, the average house is up 80% from 2017. In 8 years, it's gone up 10% a year. That's never happened before. We've never seen home prices go up this fast. And to his point, the employment, your salary has not gone up 10% every year. So we had the largest increase in Social Security, which was 2.5%. People got a $30 raise on Social Security. And they're supposed to be like, oh, thank you very much. Can I have another? And he's right about those things. The disparity of that gap is big. Now, we've had that disparity many times over. That's the problem is it's all cyclical. We think that we're experiencing something uncommon. It's common.
It's just in our
perception.
Yeah.
It's our point of view because we're living it.
Yes.
It's like we're living. Somebody who lived in the 1950s did not experience a pandemic that we did, but they experienced polio outbreaks. They experienced measles outbreaks. The 14 diseases that we now inoculate people for, that was very prevalent. You had SIDS, sudden infant death syndromes. You had fever.
Now we have the cure.
We had the average woman, if you had 8 kids, you lost 2 of them in the 1950s. Now that doesn't happen like it does now because medicine is better. Everybody thinks that medicine is going to fix everything. And this is, I kind of said something, I know I don't want to get back into politics, but RFK Jr., he's an idiot. He wants to take away the inoculation, but that's what protected our society since 1957.
Not to go back into politics, but there's some things that I'm okay with that he has. I mean, there's some things that I'm okay with from him. But it's one of those things where it's like you can't pick and choose, right? Where he's trying to.
You can.
Well.
You want to.
I would tell you.
He's trying to regulate certain shit that I think needs to be regulated.
Well, if
I'll give him that.
I will. Again, this is not political. This is more about our children and us. The reason why the pharmaceuticals are doing such a good job of making so much money, like the Eli Lilly's and all the other pharmaceuticals out there, the Johnson & Johnson's, the Pfizer's, and all the reason why they're making so much money is that they have put us. World War II, the German army came up with a white grease to lubricate their tanks, their diesel engines. After the dismantle of Germany, because they were the aggressor and they dismantled them. They weren't allowed to have an army. They weren't allowed to have weapons. They were the world just went down on them. They got beat down. They sold that grease formula to a company in London.
What is that, amoxicillin?
No. I'll tell you what it is in a second. Then at 1946, that formula or that grease was sold to Procter & Gamble. And became Crisco. Crisco is 100% petroleum. So here, now fast forward to 1946, they buy this shit. Like, what are we going to do with it? Oh, we're going to make it as a cooking oil shortening. Okay, so you take Crisco. Crisco is 100% petroleum. There's no animal product in it. So what did they do? They the number one doctor that worked for Procter & Gamble, and he also was on the board for Dow Chemical, and they're in Michigan. He also said on the American Medical Association, so Procter & Gamble and Dow put a $2.7 million endowment and funded the American Heart Association and the American Medical Association and gave them $2.7 million, which right now is over $100 million in retrospect. This was a massive amount of money. And so they said that's when the conspiracy that butter and bacon, fat, and all that was bad for your heart. You need to choose Crisco. It's healthier. That is the beginning of our health epidemic that we suffer from today. When you think about Twinkies, most of the cereals, most of the honey buns, most of the shit that we feed our kids and we allow it and we grew up on it will not be sold in Europe.
I think about that.
Most of the food
but that's my point.
Most of our food coloring. RFK Jr. is not going to fix that. Those are that double-edged sword that I keep talking about. What keeps this country stuck is our profitability. Think about all the companies that make the seed oil, all the companies that make Wesson. Because when you grew up, Wesson was the better choice. Sunflower seed oil was a better choice.
And now they're saying it's not.
Vegetable oil sounds healthy. Have you ever grabbed a piece of corn and squeezed oil out of it?
No.
Have you ever grabbed even a goddamn tomato and squeezed oil out of it?
There's a tomato oil?
There's no such thing.
I'm
Vegetable
like, wait, what?
Vegetable oil.
I'm like, wait, what?
Our number one nemesis is seed oil. And I agree with RFKJ about that. Our number one thing. I don't have any seed oil in my house. The only thing I have is avocado oil or I have bacon fat. I buy bacon up. And you know what?
Tallow
If you're out there that
tallow?
you're a sponsor, I will help sponsor your shit. You sell bacon up, I will help promote your stuff.
Yeah.
Talon, I make my own talon. When I cut up a brisket, I save it all, and I have 2 tubs of talon all the time.
He's got some badass brisket, I will say.
We need promotion too.
We need promotion too.
So, if what we've been sold since the 1950s, it goes back to fossil fuel. It goes back to all this shit. McDonald's switched, and remember Julia Childs? You guys remember her?
Child.
She used to say, until the day she died, McDonald's made a mistake. They need to go back to lard. When you went to a fast food restaurant in the 1960s, you got real beef, a real whole wheat bun, real cheese, fried with real fat. Our body knows what to do with animal fat. We've been eating it for 30,000 years. Yeah. We do not know what to do with seed or modified bullshit. Yeah. Using corn.
Yeah, we do. Make cancer out of it.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. But also the other hypocrisy is selling ethanol. There are better alternatives than corn. We should not be using food for our fuel. Brazil has it right. They make a lot of fuel out of corn. Out of sugar cane. Because number one is super fast and it doesn't require near what it does. The amount of fertilizer that it takes to grow corn and the modification because what they grow to create for fuel is not even edible to us. They have modified that corn to create ethanol, that 10% ethanol that's in our gas right now. It's a joke. No different than dairy. We've been told that you got to have milk. The American Heart Association, the American Medical Association made that food pyramid.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Backwards, right?
It's absolutely backwards. You're 100% right.
Backwards.
Here you go.
It is. It is.
If you take, how many times have you heard, I had cancer and...
Well, one of the other things is 3 or 5 meals a day. It's you need to eat breakfast. You need to eat a snack, lunch, snack, dinner. I mean, it's just to get you to consume as much shit as they possibly can.
Exercise. The way that they sold exercise to us. So at one point I was 320 pounds. I average about 225 right now. Guys, I know you can't tell, but I mean, I'm about as muscular as you guys. I'm about as muscular as you're gonna think. And I'm 53 years old. I'm in the best shape of my life. I changed the way that I exercise. I exercise 2, maybe 3 times a week. I follow Mike Messenger. Mike Messenger, if you go back and look at Arnold's Pump and Iron, one of the competitors that used to compete, and he won a couple of world championships. He only worked out 3 hours a week, and he was just as big and muscular as Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger and those guys, they worked out 6 hours. They worked out 2 to 6 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah, it was their hobby.
And they were completely obsessed by it. My Messenger found a different way of working out. There's a lot of guys, there's a lot of influencers that are starting to turn into Mike Messenger style. If you ever wanted to change the way your body is and how you metabolize food, go and watch some of his old videos of how he trains. I work out 2 to 3 hours a week, and I'm in the best shape of my life. And I've been lifting weights. I was a power lifter. You know, my bench press was close to 450 pounds. My squat was over 600, et cetera. I'm in better shape today working out 1/3 of what I used to do, because it's a simple thing. First of all, I've eliminated and you can't eliminate it from fast food. That's the sad part. You go to Chick-fil-A, you get peanut oil.
Well, one thing I've always said is there's no tricks. Just keep it simple.
Exactly.
Eat right, whatever that means. I mean, of course, no fast food. You know, just try to eat as lean or clean as you possibly can, and just work out.
So we kind of
it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be crazy.
So to kind of recap, go ahead. What I was telling them is that I've changed the way that I've eaten over the last 2 years, and I changed the way that I work out. In the past, I used to work out as much as I could, 4 days, 5 days, overdo it. And so now I work out 2 to 3 hours a week. And you've seen the change in me.
Yes, I have. You and Angela.
Yeah.
You and his wife.
Yeah.
They look great, by the way. Amazing.
Thank you. You do too. You look awesome too. Cancino is a different story, but I love you guys. But I only work out 2 to 3 hours, 2 or 3 times.
I don't work out at all. I'm just saying.
But I changed the way that I worked out. It's all about concentration. A guy who can take 20 pounds, a 20-pound dumbbell, 2 20-pound dumbbells, and do just as much good as a man trying to max out at 80-pound dumbbells.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't know the weight. Your body doesn't say, oh my God, if I don't go heavy, I'm not going to tear enough Z lines to build muscle. It's all about intensity, and it's all about concentration. If you can concentrate on what you're doing, you can sit there. Have you seen those fads about like working out on the chair? Mm-hmm. And those guys changing their lives. If you're 50, you could do this. If you're 60, 60-year-old man looking amazing, and they do the exercise.
They look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Exactly. The thing that they're doing that works for that, and it works for all of us. There's not a single person here that doesn't work for it. It's about concentration and sitting there and making that contraction work. You can get as much exercise and as much benefit from a 20-pound dumbbell as the person who's sitting there with an 80-pound dumbbell. Mike Messenger is the guy you guys want to, if y'all ever want to change how you look and how you feel, go and just watch a couple of videos of him. And it would
get me to grow hair. Probably not.
That's genetics.
I thought I'd ask.
That's genetics. Just saying.
Hey, at least you don't have to go and do what I do with the cut the hair and gel and all that stuff. Because I love short hair.
You're not helping.
I love short hair.
I just you just stress me out because I need to cut Daniel's hair and just stressed me out.
Oh,
just stressed me out.
So the last couple of years I had like hair this big. I love it, and so my wife's like, "I miss your hair." So I'm only growing it out because of her.
There you go.
I don't.
Who else would you do it for?
I'd be like Kojak in a heartbeat. I don't care. Especially and I got used to it because I rode a motorcycle for 7 years, and you can't have a lot of hair because you pull it out, you have hammer hair. Mm-hmm. So the shorter the hair, I would have a 1 and a 2, like a Marine haircut, and I loved it. Yeah. So I don't know how you feel.
About
his hair,
your wonderful hair
situation.
I like it.
I don't
easy to
see
maintain.
the part that I don't remember is you having long hair.
What do you mean? It was longer than yours.
And I don't remember that. So me and Joe met years ago
because it was easy to maintain. I just didn't cut my hair. I didn't.
Yeah,
we met many years ago.
Didn't want to cut
I met him before I even met Daniel. Like I know him through his
cousin.
cousin.
Niece.
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 Nice.
Niece. Was that his name?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Whatever.
by the way, happy birthday. It was yesterday.
Yes, it was.
You should have said it last week. Happy birthday anyway, Lisa.
Happy late birthday.
Yeah.
Shout out.
I met him through, and I do not remember you ever having long hair. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just don't remember ever you having long hair. So I don't know if I met you. I don't know.
I don't remember.
Just saying.
I've had long hair one time. I grew up in the late 80s, so everybody had long hair, hairband. And people would straighten their hair and all that shit.
Wait a minute. You're saying it's easy to maintain as opposed to not having hair?
Yeah, I didn't have to do anything. Like for a year, I didn't touch my hair. I didn't cut it. I just washed it every fucking day, and that's it.
I don't
But
know.
I
how
guess
feel
when she's
about
Now
done
that.
this takes maintenance. Like I have to do this. It doesn't happen naturally. I still have hair. So I'm a bald spot back there.
Oh, you're talking about like the shaving and
Yeah,
keeping it
I
clean.
have to like keep it shaved, or then I look just.
Oh, we're going to get you a case of Nair.
Isn't there?
We got you, bro. We got you. Hey, you know, they have a new product just for men about hair loss. Like they have a new lotion, like a Nair lotion for men now for the face. I'm like, are you that lazy? You can't get a little bit of jabón and shave it?
Just go to.
Yeah, like when I need to do something, I just do that. I just.
Did
shave
you
up
know
to
that that's
the parts.
actual, that's like Drano?
What?
Oh,
hair?
I'm sure everything
The stuff
is.
that's in Nair.
Yeah. I'm
Have you ever, do you know what Nair is?
Yes.
Okay, if you put Nair on, or if you even smell somebody that has had Nair, it smells like burnt hair. It's disturbing how it smells.
That's gross.
Can you imagine all the women that que se le como la cucha allá abajo?
You're not supposed to use it there. It literally says don't do it.
I don't use it.
Literally on the packaging, it says don't do it.
You should go to Turkey. That's where everybody's doing.
Why do they do
To
implants?
do the implants.
What the?
You'll come out-
Hair. I'm good. I don't want hair.
You'll come out like
I've seen-
Flavio.
I've
How
seen
they sell
I've
it?
seen
They got the
videos.
what is that row?
No,
The row. They got that.
Rogaine?
No, there's a RO.
Pretty cheap. I heard it's like cheap.
So, so there are other
And-
countries.
No, and they
that-
do. No, I'm good. I'm good. And they do. They
How's
do
he
like.
able to maintain that? What do they do?
They do like the.
Are you looking for a sponsorship?
I am.
Flavio,
Anything.
ándale, Herbal Essence,
No, like
ándale.
I've heard, well, I've seen videos, but they do like full, like you get in a badass hotel. They,
I mean, it's a
spa,
thing.
They do everything, and I've seen videos of guys like recording, like eating breakfast at the hotel that they're
Y
staying at.
todos tienen
And
el mismo
everybody has
helmet.
the same shit.
A chili bowl?
Like they have the bandages,
bandage, yeah.
or like something.
You know
It's-
that,
it's just
Mayweather-
wild.
You know that Mayweather did that, right? For
I'm
his
sure
beard.
he did.
He had
did?
hair
Beard?
implants?
For his beard. Mayweather has a full blown beard, and they have video / pictures of when he recently had got it done, because it's very noticeable when a man gets that done, at least for the beard aspect, because it's almost like plugs. Yeah.
It's too perfect.
It's like exact. It's like an X-Acto knife.
But I
just
mean,
went
they
like.
cut it.
That's good.
I mean, no judgment. Whoever wants to do it, by all
I'll judge.
means. Like
I'll
that's
judge.
no judgment for me. If that's
I can grow a mafia style mustache. I mean,
Mafia.
thick, Guido looking.
What's
He's
his
good-
name? Escobar.
Yeah. Well, it's like this. I would be Saddam Hussein if I didn't
Escobar.
shave this. I would be Saddam. They used to call me Saddam back in college because I didn't think about it. And then one day they were like, "You look like Saddam." I'm like, "What the fuck is Saddam?" Oh hell no! Oh yeah, my ritual: shave, choom, shave, choom. Yeah, because it'll go all the way through, boofy. But the mustache comes in very thick. Man, this shit's all pashy. And, yeah, it looks like shit. I'm like, put some milk on and let a cat lick it off. I'm like, if I wasn't so macho, I'd be offended by it. But again, the mustache makes up for it. But I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, Mayweather got it done. I want to say that they asked him, like, you know how TMZ, they run up on people and like, hey, did you get your beard done? Where'd you get it done? It looks professionally done type thing. And he was very, I don't know, it's very distinct how you can tell, but it's, I mean, by all means, do what you got to do,
I
right?
guess.
Got the money, I
Hey,
guess.
if you got the right, he made $50 million in the last fight.
If you have the money to do it, have the money to hide from it. Like
Seriously.
unless no, I don't know, no shame or
Have
anything like
have
that.
them
But
come to your house.
But you know, if you got nothing else to think about, maybe you can be that vain. I mean, it's like I was watching this thing, and there's a new product for men because like there was a lot of in the gay community, and women went through about 20 years ago of the bleaching of the asshole. Apparently that was
that's still a thing.
well.
you bleach your butt.
Now they're targeting men. They have an actual men kit, so it's supposed to be a manly kit to go and bleach your ass.
How'd you like it?
Let me show you. Tell me what you think.